Three shootings in Atlanta overnight. Police say someone shot and killed a man in a single vehicle wreck on the interstate.
The people wanted to link Baby Drill to a different murder, and that's the Lil Marlo murder.
We ain't even gotta get out and shoot. Y'all ain't gotta need that.
Start the bitch. I don't even promote that, but they got a top.
We gotta bless me, bro. So loyal, bro. Loyal, bro.
It's the difference when it's like right there. You experiencing this shit like it's like a battle.
Thinking this shit sweet, I got that fight.
Man, fuck that shit. I'm trying to kill Lil Christo. They gonna be another dead op. Fat J, that's another dead op. Lil Quan, that's another dead op.
Alright, we're going to Quan.
Them niggas was hella deep. Them niggas fought like 100 deep or some shit.
And he's the only one that got hit?
Yep.
Damn right, I'm worth 50 million. I ain't finna let none of y'all niggas, dusty niggas kill me.
Nigga had got hit. Damn, he should've died.
There's so much going on in that apartment complex. It's just nuts. They're all throwing them gangs.
Fuck nigga better free ride before I start coming around the store. You know.
Breaking news, a man is dead after a shooting.
You the one who brought drill to Atlanta.
I did.
Big 4L shit, man. Get in there, man. Fuck around there, man. On Pete.
Perhaps the shooter didn't realize is that there's a surveillance camera right over there.
No God, he sent me down no road that he think I can't handle.
I woke back up, he was still shooting. Man shot over 30 rounds. We killed his mama too.
Shit, nigga, stop playing with me, nigga. I am PFK pussy. Give a fuck how a nigga feel, nigga. See me.
Killed that bitch, now that. Thinking this shit sweet, I got that fight. Niggas think shit pussy. Text the baby drill, bitch, you gon'.
On July 11th of 2020, 30-year-old Rudolph Johnson, better known as Lil Marlo, was driving his car along Atlanta's Y-285 interstate near Benjamin E. Mays before another vehicle pulled along and began opening fire, killing him.
Several in the hip-hop community have taken to social media to offer their condolences.
His death would reach headlines, bringing eyes all around the world to the side of Atlanta the media doesn't show you. But what outsiders don't know is that Marlo's death would be a tragedy that would spark a deadly wave of gang violence in both the streets and Atlanta's music scene. It is the murder that sparked all the wars in the city. Atlanta. It is the most populous city in the state of Georgia and is rapidly becoming one of the biggest cities of the South, being commonly known as America's hip-hop city and the Black Hollywood. It is the birthplace of rap's signature trap sound, made infamous by figures hailing from the East Side and Zone 6 side of the city like Gucci Mane, Waka Flocka Flame, and Jeezy. And while many tales have been told of the newer generation hailing from Atlanta, such as the player style associated with Rich Homie Quan and Lil Baby, or the now infamous Atlanta drill scene with figures like Baby Kia and Anti the Menace, there are many legends surrounding the old Atlanta that aren't discussed in mainstream media. And to understand a story like this, I must first take you back to those times. Simpler times, before niggas started moving here and kicking us out our hoods, making rent high as fuck.
I feel like the new generation don't know the old Atlanta. They really don't know it like that. They may have heard from it, like from some of their homeboys, the old OGs in the hood, big homies of the hood, you know what I'm saying, or their uncles and fathers, but they don't really know, you know what I'm saying.
In the 80s, Atlanta was like most other big southern metro cities like Memphis, Baton Rouge, or Birmingham. Big enough for economic potential, but small enough that everyone knew each other. African Americans were just coming off the second wave of the Great Migration and would take over lots of southern cities and make them home for generations to come. Atlanta at the time was sprawling of affordable public housings and cheap homes for poor families, and by this time, most of the neighborhoods in the inner city were majority black. The crack cocaine epidemic affected most areas in poverty in multiple cities, This introduced small-time dealers and robbers in the inner city of Atlanta, which would begin its small dose of crime. It wasn't until by 1986 where a gang of big-time drug dealers known as the Miami Boys began moving from southern Florida and started setting up shop in nearby northern cities. Atlanta was one of those cities. The Miami Boys would take over many of the projects, a lot which were already crime-ridden, and sell their products and recruit more members while also claiming hoods and territories.
Tell me about the original Miami Boys.
The original Miami Boys. I'm one of the original Miami Boys. Back in 1987, I had just got out of prison. I went to Atlanta, Georgia. During that time, there weren't too many people doing nothing. But they said I had a chance to go to Orlando or Tallahassee. So I said I'm going to Atlanta. But I'm one of the original. We come out of John Hope. Boulevard.
I mean, how did that come up? Because a lot of people don't know about the Miami Boys.
Yeah, see, that
they were getting money in Atlanta?
Yeah, we was getting money in Atlanta, where I know from, and we was taking their girls, and that's where the dudes from Fulton County. Fulton County is Atlanta, Georgia. We talking about the county itself, Fulton. They didn't like niggas from Florida, because, especially the Miami Boys, because everything they had was wagging, taking all their girls.
The Miami Boys' influence over the city would be so big that an entire generation would witness and endure this influx of violent gang violence over drugs and turf. More drugs began surfacing around, new weapons, then new gangs formed, who would be the OGs of these infamous projects for generations to come. These projects would include the likes of Grady Homes, John Hopes, Perry Homes, Bankhead Courts, Techwood Homes, East Lake Meadows, which crime was so terrible at a point it was being compared to the atrocities of Little Vietnam, and of course, Bowen Homes, made infamous by figures like Shawty Low and the Shop Boys. It's a hood made famous by plenty of other rappers and notable figures showing love and shouting out the projects like Bankhead's T.I. and many more.
I was born on the east side of Atlanta, and I was raised on the west side of Atlanta. So I got the chance to experience both sides and really understand it. And then I was raised in probably, well, I can't say probably, it is the hardest projects in East Atlanta was East Lake Meadows. You know what I'm saying? I got a chance to grow up over there. Leaving from there, I ended up moving to Bowen Home on the west side. And Bowen Home is probably the worstest projects on the west side. You see what I'm saying? Respectfully.
The Bowen Court projects would be one of the hoods immortalized in Atlanta's lore, and it would also be the stomping grounds for a young Lil Marlo growing up in the streets of Atlanta before they were ultimately destroyed like the rest. Rudolph Simmons Johnson, also known as Marlo or Rude, was born May 1st in 1990 in Atlanta to two average parents trying to make amends in one of the city's most notorious ghettos, Bankhead. Bankhead is located on the city's west side and is in the city's borders of Zone 1, the first out of 6 zones to make up the Atlanta PD's patrol routes. Bankhead at the time would home some of the most dangerous projects in this era of the city, and arguably still does. This is where Marlo would spend his time growing up, as Bankhead was the neighborhood of the Bowen Homes projects until 2009. Not much is known about Marlo's early life, but in various interviews he goes in depth into his early childhood and how the streets seemingly chose him from a very young age.
Growing up in the projects, young, wild, you know, I caught early though. I learned how to, like I was ahead of like people my age. Like I used to go hang with all the older people from the hood, get all the game, soak the game up, come back, run the game on the young nigga. So I was fast. I started getting money early. I started moving different early. It was hard, but I made it easy for me. I learned the game early.
Being from Bowen Homes, of course Marlo would come to grow up and know legends like Shawty Low, who tragically died in a car crash in 2016. If you're from the city, then you know how connected the West Side really is. This would make Marlo already be tied in with the likes figures like Lil Baby and other gangsters and notorious sets in the area since a little kid. Marlo would self-admittedly be 1 foot in the streets and 1 foot in school. And by the time he reached the 9th grade, he would completely drop out of school as he began focusing and getting money in the streets. This would be around the time he would begin to get affiliated with the infamous Goodfellas mob gang, one of the most notorious crews in the city. And they would also be the crew that would allegedly lead to his demise. Now, the origins of the Goodfellas gang dates back to the mid-2000s, during the peak of Atlanta's signature old trap era. GF, also known as Mobb and 10L, which means 10 letters standing for Goodfellas, formed in the Fulton County Jail, also known as Rice Street, as a protection group against other inmates, which gradually shifted to means of intimidation and other extortion tactics. The creator of the gang is unknown, being something commonly argued upon in the city. But it is to state that the gang obviously draws inspiration from notorious Italian mafias and drawing direct inspiration for their name from the 1980s crime thriller Goodfellas. This would explain the gang's structure and how they operate using set leaders or bosses known as capos, with their common members being referred to as dons, who put in work for the OGs and are looking to up their rank in the empire. Quite similar to how the actual Italian mob of gangsters truly operated. Now, Rice Street has a tragic reputation of being one of the most brutal jails, sometimes being referred to as one of the worst jails in the country, with living conditions being deemed overcrowded, understaffed, and a nightmarish domain for inmates, with a high number of stabbings and violence happening within the very walls.
Our target today is going to be 6 north, 300 and 400.
This is our house. And we're going to show them tonight we're taking our house back. We have a duty to make this jail safe for our deputies, for our contractors, and for the inmates that are here.
Hey, Cam. Yes, sir. What do you think this is?
We're dealing with multiple problems here. We're dealing with drones that there's not many solutions out there that are delivering contraband. We're dealing with a building that's old and it's showing its age.
This problem is so bad, in fact, the FBI had to step in and launch an investigation into the jail and its harsh conditions. This would explain why a gang like GF would come to exist in the first place, with Rice Street's violence dating all the way back to the early 2000s, a problem which would gradually become worse over time as more outsiders move in and the city continues to expand. Now, during the early formation of the Goodfellas gang, the mob would become closely tied in with a mutual gang within the jail known as 30 Deep, who was considerably larger than Mobb at the time. But when Mobb and 30 Deep locked in, they became one thing under the GF banner, which would translate to some of the modern traditions in the crew we see today, such as recruits needing to drop their flag or leave their gang and get beat for 76 seconds to be initiated, hence the 7-6 moniker commonly used by GF, which would become iconic in Baby Kea's diss to Mobb in his song Get Jiggy. Or the whoa phrase you hear mob members commonly refer to each other as, which means one the same as bro or, you know, my nigga. A phrase that would be popularized by GF rapper Glock 40 Spaz.
You wanna throw some, but we spread it like pepper. Bitch, I'm a playboy bunny, just call me Hugh Hefner. I don't know about slang life, but I'm a real stepper. You might as well cut it whole auntie ends, cause I photo all like a prince. That baby.
However, as time passed and capos began being released, they would spread all over the city, notably the west side, and put on more members in the streets while claiming hoods and pushing weight. Their influence would become so big that their presence would exceed to other surrounding cities in Georgia. And Bowen Homes would notably be one of those hoods Mobb set up in and initiated members through mutual and past connections. Unfortunately, the projects were also targeted by public housing authorities for decades for its deteriorating infrastructure, unsafe living conditions, and crime rates that were becoming unbearable. And in 2008, the Atlanta Housing issued a $300 million redevelopment plan that will grow to $1 billion investment. And next year, the projects would inevitably be demolished, forcing all its residents to relocate.
This was a powerful and emotional day for many of the residents who once lived in the Bowen Homes public housing complex. Atlanta is on schedule to become the first major city to tear down all of its project housing. But with that comes change and uncertainty. This is a day that many have dreamed of and others feared would eventually come. The first phase of demolition for Bowen Homes in northwest Atlanta.
On reflection,
There's no question that this is the right direction.
I want them to tear it down because people be getting shot in here.
Former residents marked the occasion by taking home a Bowen brick.
I hate to see it go. This is one of the oldest projects in America. So
not everyone's glad to be gone.
These are perfect good apartments. It wouldn't have took nothing to renovate these apartments and keep it going on.
As a result of the project's demise, Marlo would move to Delmar Lane with other GF members, pushing loads of that bankhead dog food around the hood, which would essentially make him a big-time dope boy around the area, making hundreds of thousands all before he even thought of touching a microphone. Now Delmar Lane, home to the infamous Sierra Ridge Apartments, also known as the 9th Ward, and also home to one of the oldest, most dangerous hoods in Zone 4. Allen Temple, commonly known as the Temp, has a long history of gang problems and violence. Allen Temple is the original name of these apartments before they went under multiple changes, and natives from the city still and probably will forever call it Allen Temple instead of Allen Hills, what it currently goes by. Now, somewhere between the late 2000s and early 2010s, the East Coast Sex Money Murder Blood Alliance that originated in New York would influx the city's streets, gradually making the Blood Gang arguably the biggest gang in the city. Allen Temple, or the Temp, would be one of those hoods the Sex Money Murder Gang would take over and make their territory, and the entirety of Delmar Lane would be considered Blood territory before Mobb came to the hood, with the earliest video of the Temp's Bloods dating all the way back to 2011, where a YouTuber interviews the Blood rapper Yayo, gangsters proudly expressing their Blood Gang affiliations and residence on the block.
Shit. Everybody do their thing like born home. Everybody know about the Temple. Really, you heard G say he for the corner of the Temple where it dogs. He even get off the hard. You hear T.I. already always screaming about it. Killer Mike, you know what I'm saying? Everybody. Parlay, you know what I'm saying? The franchise boy, Yola look great, you know what I'm saying? Shit, nigga, we been rocking, you know what I'm saying? Like all my OG, you know what I'm saying? They made a way for us, nigga.
This would also explain why some PFK members would later on begin also claiming blood, like DB Omerta and other notable future members hailing from the Temp after beginning to beef with the very own crew that they originated from, with the Sex Money Murder Blood Alliance being so tied in within the city that their presence would exceed to areas like the East Side, which will be an important fact later on. When Lil Marlo set up shop on Delmar Lane, he would also meet key figures hailing from the hood that would later go on to form the PFK gang. And it would also start, perhaps, a chain of catastrophic events that would inevitably change his life forever.
Yo, Pierre, you wanna come around?
I'm in PFK as well. I am PFK.
Now, if you're from the city, then you know, or at least heard of PFK, a set that originated as a branch of GF members in the 9th Ward, which went on to arguably become more known than Mobb. And anyone who's heard of PFK knowingly, without a doubt, knows who the creator of PFK is. Felipe, also known as Felipe Dadon or Lil One, is Mr. PFK himself. Back around the early 2010s, when everyone in the city was either Blood, Crip, or GD, Felipe would claim PFK, which would also be known as Perp Gang, or simply Play for Keeps, with the full acronyms of the early PFK gang actually going by PGPFK, meaning Perp Gang Play for Keeps.
You already know who that is, man. You already know that PFK Philippe right there. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Sticky and stuff. Let the folk know what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Let them know where you're from and shit like that too.
They know what's going on, man. West Side of Atlanta, man. Night boy, stand the fuck up, man. PFK, man. They know what the fuck going like. Big stick.
For sure. Now, let the folks know, you know what I'm saying, when was you introduced to PFK and when you start, you know what I'm saying, just running around, just busting your move around the city and shit like that?
I've been PFK since forever. I am PFK. You know what I'm saying? I stand on that.
Now, Felipe has been one of the biggest faces of Atlanta's criminal underworld through a series of his actions in the streets, which essentially make him a big-time dope boy like Marlo in the coming years, which garnered him respect around the 9 and Atlanta's West Side. and he has stated that he's known Marlo since a kid, which would essentially give Marlo the green light to move to the 9 and join the early PFK gang Felipe was establishing.
Are you guys biologically related?
Nah, but you know what, my mama gave birth to him, couldn't make us no closer, like, that's my brother.
You remember the first time you guys ever met?
Oh, yeah. See, I've been knowing Marlo since we were young. Like, me and his little brother, though, like, we used to play football and hit grandma in the yard, like, we were young. So I've been knowing him.
You can even find throwbacks of PFK in their early stages, with members hanging around the 9 and flexing their expensive jewelry and possessions they acquired by pushing heavy dope around the area. We begin to see notable figures and OGs of the early PFK gang like Felipe, Marlo, Brazil, Bomb First, Lucky, Pun, and No Plug, an important figure of this story that I'll get into later. Now, of course, there's more members making up the early crew of PFK, but for now, I'm only mentioning the most reputable members that are involved in this story. Now, it is to state that around this time, Atlanta was always known as a get money and player city, which would be evident and shown in our flashy style and motion. This would explain how these gangs operated purely based off making plays and networking, with the city being so connected that the biggest crews in the city would all come together to make money and take over the music industry, with connections rather than deadly gang violence in other cities like Chicago or Jacksonville. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of PFK's original and reputable members would be No Plug, who grew up around the city's west side and Swats area. He would eventually move to the 9 growing up in the city's streets, which made him join PFK as he already knew most of their members. And sometime near 2015, No Plug would become heavily tied in with the East Side's very own 2100 Slaughter Gang with rappers like 21 Savage, who was gaining a buzz in the city both in the music industry and streets. But as time went on, both crews became so tied into the point, they were considered clicked together at one point, forming the traditional L monikers that would be popularized in the use of future gangs in the city like the very own 4L, 3L, and other crews like 5L, 1L, and 10L. Now, if you clicked on this video, you're probably already a fan of Atlanta's influential music scene, or of rap in general, which means you've probably most certainly heard of 21 Savage, one of the most popular successful rappers in the world, which also means you've probably heard him shouting 4L out in his songs multiple times. Now 21 Savage has managed to successfully change his life and image around from his gritty come-up featuring some of his early trap gang banging music that gave him 2 platinum records. And as casual fans might tune into a 21 Savage song for his signature trap style, he manages to deliver on plenty of tracks. They might also be oblivious to the very real and dark situations behind his lyrics from his time on the East Side's deadliest blocks, losing multiple friends and brothers to gang violence before he even began claiming blood. Savage describing the dire situations he had to go through in this time being what made him have no heart. But to fully understand who 4L are and where they truly began, then I must take you to that time, Savage's early childhood, which would be essential to understanding the city's new deadly gang politics. Now, in the beginning of 2019, Savage was attending the Super Bowl 53 at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. When the event was over, he was leaving until he was pulled over by ICE and arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agency says he is actually a UK citizen who overstayed his visa and that he now faces deportation. This would spark major controversy online regarding Savage's early life, as a lot of out-of-towners believed he was actually faking his entire persona, as he wasn't even from the U.S. But as more interviews came out from Savage regarding the incident and completely unrelated events, people would begin to actually understand, and it's not as complex as a lot of people make it out to be.
Like, I went to Dunn Elementary. That's the elementary school I went to.
Okay.
I get on the bus or whatever, they start talking to me. So they making fun of me on the way to school.
Okay.
So we get on the bus to go home, they making fun of me on the way home.
Okay.
So we get off the bus, like one of the older dudes, like his little brother was the main one. So the older brother was said something like, basically like, shit, fight him. So we get out the bus, I beat him up. So the girls, all the girls, they run and tell my mama.
Okay. See, during the case, it was revealed that Savage indeed was born in the UK, but he moved to the United States legally in 2005, where he would have been roughly around 13 years old, meaning he technically grew up here. It's all he's really ever known and adapted to. But it's also to mention that he stayed here as well when he was around 7, and already had family members staying in Atlanta, like his cousin Young Nudie. And you can even find plenty of throwbacks of Savage as a kid and teenager, clearly influenced and adapted to Atlanta's culture, and how the rough areas he grew up in affected his early childhood. Now, Savage has done plenty of interviews going into his early childhood, and a lot of obscure information about his life can be easily found on sites like his Wikipedia page. But no other interview of his has gone as viral as his famous Vlad TV interview, where he delves into his come-up in Atlanta. And, oh yeah, Vlad asking him about the notorious knife tattoo on his forehead.
What does the cross on your forehead signify?
It's a knife.
However, how viral has this clip's essentially gone on the internet for its obscure hilariousness? Most casuals only watch that part of the clip, not knowing that moments later Savage would actually dive deeper into the dagger's meaning, revealing a dark truth to its origins, having lost one of his day ones to gun violence just outside of the infamous G Block, just as Slaughter Gang was beginning to be established.
Dad, my little brother Tayman had and got killed, and we had started some little shit, a little clique, you know what I'm saying? And the logo for the clique was the daggers, you know what I'm saying? And we were supposed to get it right there, you know, in between your thumb and your index, like right there. But he hadn't just went and got the shit in his goddamn forehead. So I'm like, what the fuck, this nigga crazy as hell. And he ended up getting killed. So shit, I was like, shit, fucking, I'm finna go do it for him, you know what I'm saying? And when I went and got that.
So the tattoo is a tribute to your brother who got killed.
Right. My little brother Tayman, R.I.P.
That's deep. That's definitely deep.
Now this would be just one of many examples of Savage's troubled past in Atlanta's streets, which would come to be a shock to many that Savage was originally from a GD set that ran the east side of Atlanta before the blood wave hit the city. And if you ask Savage, he would most likely tell you himself that he began getting into the streets here at the young age of 13.
It's really been my whole life, really, since I was born, you know what I'm saying? I've been involved with the street. But hands-on, I'd say about 13, 14.
Now, in your songs, you talk about being a blood.
Right.
Like how old were you when you first started getting into that?
Probably about 19. But I've been 21 my whole life. That was our gang, you know what I'm saying? This blood shit just hit Atlanta not too long ago. It was really like a big wave of, you know what I'm saying, everybody getting in, gangs, Crip, blood, and all that shit. So that's when that shit happened. But
in fact, one of the many examples of Savage getting into trouble around this age would stem from the iconic story where Savage brought a gun to middle school to defend himself against rival gang members and ended up getting caught with it, being sent to the DeKalb Regional Youth Development Center in Decatur. See, Savage isn't actually from the Zone 6 part of the city, which I mentioned earlier as being home to many rap legends and icons in the industry. In fact, you'd come to find out that many icons who've claimed Zone 6 over the years didn't actually even grow up there if you take into consideration the zone's small borders compared to the other zones. Rappers like Gucci Mane are actually from Decatur, as it can be seen in throwbacks when he went to Columbia High School. The same can essentially be said about Savage, as he actually spent most of his childhood growing up in areas like Stone Mountain, Decatur, Redan, Gwinnett, and so on. In actuality, Savage's very own 21 moniker is a reference to the notorious 2100 block, also known as Glenwood Road, that starts in Zone 6 and runs through the east side in areas like Decatur, where it reaches the Stone Mountain and Redan borders. East Atlanta and the east side of Atlanta are two completely different things, and some parts of Decatur were actually claimed to be Zone 6 by natives, and you would also hear Stone Mountain niggas claiming Zone 6 because of how close the areas are, blurring the lines between what was Zone 6 and what was not. An example of this would be from rapper Young Mal, a buzzing Decatur rapper from the B4L clique, a small set part of the 4L faction that runs the infamous Candler Road, sometimes referred to as Bandler due to its blood affiliations. Young Mal would go on to make a notoriety from claiming Zone 6 even though his hood is technically in the borders of Decatur, and this discussion would be one of the hot arguments within the city's politics. It isn't until rapper Omeretta dropped her Sorry Not Sorry freestyle in 2022, which went mega viral, where she called out all of the confusion and niggas from the metro areas who claim Atlanta when they're not from or live in any of the city's zones. This is what would push metro niggas to actually claim where they're from, making a name for themselves. But in reality, Atlanta wouldn't be what it is today without the city's metro areas, and no song or person would ever divide the city's culture. I'm telling you this to understand the East Side's politics, and because even though Savage didn't grow up in Zone 6 or East Atlanta, the work he put in for the Zone 6 Bloods after his days banging GD on the East Side would solidify his status in the entire city. Now, growing up as a kid on the East Side, Savage wouldn't be dragged into the gang life until after he got released from juvie for bringing the Phi to school and then having to attend alternative school in Gwinnett.
You know what I mean? So we move out there. This when I first started seeing like gangs, cause over here it wasn't no gang. It was like GD, but that's it. I moved out there to Gwinnett. It's like it's Bloods, Crips, motherfucking GDs. You got the Mexican gangs, cause there's a lot of Mexicans out there.
Yeah.
So you got Mexican gangs. I'm like, what the fuck? I started seeing shit on the desk and shit, stars, and gang sound. Like, hell, this shit is. I knew what Bloods and Crips was, but I ain't never really just.
You ain't see the other shit too,
how they was banging out there like, man, this the suburbs. These niggas like gang banging like a motherfucker.
This is self-admittedly where Savage would begin experiencing gang politics and where he would be introduced to GDs from Glenwood, a set that is arguably the creators of drill music as we know it, with diss songs to their bitter rivals dating back to the 2000s. Now, before the blood wave came through the city, the East Side was infamously known for being majority GD territory. One of those sets would be known as Black Mobb, which gained a notoriety in the early to mid-2000s on the East Side for not only their musical talents, but for the heavy pressure they applied in the streets.
Oh, goddamn Black Mobb in his bitch.
What you heard, nigga? That bitch EFP, you got that cool nigga with the fuck. Nigga 8800 block, nigga.
Black Mobb, nigga. Eat my ass, nigga.
Get on that shit, man. Get on that shit, man. Hey,
Make the hit me in the background.
This ain't fuck fam art.
See, Black Mobb originally formed on 2100 Block or Glenwood Road, but as time went on, smaller cliques from different surrounding hoods would be formed under the Black Mobb GD set, which did nothing but spread their influence more across the East Side.
Everybody right here with me right now.
From 20.
Everybody. 21. Whole hater. MOB. GMB. Man, that's how we do it, man. Come on, man. With them gutter boys, man. Y'all already know what time it is, man. Same shit, man. We been doing this shit for a long time.
Sick of this shit, really,
hear
man.
the story, man. We crunked this up in high school. They already know what time it is, man. Way back in the day, it was in high school around 2002, man. Really. Day one, A1 nigga.
They call that a movement.
You understand me,
man? That was a movement.
It was a movement, you feel me? Everybody, you know. Man, we started at Columbia, you know. Columbia was the day one. Columbia High. Then they just linked up. You know how we did it, man. We did it big. You already know. Black Mobb first, man. Then, you know, everything else, man, came along with it, man. We got Whole Headed, we got 21. We got, you know what I mean? We got GMB, man. DP, them gutters. I'm trying to tell y'all, man.
Hey, my name's Tika. I'm 18 and I went to Columbia High School. My cousin in the Mobb. He started all this shit. JP from the Gutter Boys.
Okay.
And my cousin Drago. You feel me?
Okay.
Started really when I was in like 8th grade. That was like goddamn 07. I started seeing that shit and I went to high school and I seen all that shit. Fights in front of my school. The fam fighting Black Mobb and on the bus and shit with these fuck niggas and...
In fact, Black Mobb's bitter rivals would be another notorious blood set from the surrounding metro Atlanta hoods called the Fam. And just like Black Mobb, the Fam would consist of smaller cliques within the set that made up the gang.
No, witness for filter, man, straight up. 30314, tied that.
Black Capone.
Really, man. You know I was gonna be rocking shit little Mike. Yeah. I want to see all this shit, man. We created this shit. Yeah, fuck niggas kept on playing. But these fuck niggas, boy, stop playing with it.
Thought they sneak dissing too.
I'm telling you, boy, you got to know how you get killed, man.
It's style now, man. Stop fucking playing with us, man.
See, it's unknown what exactly caused these two crews to begin beefing, but it can all be essentially blamed on high school beefs turned physical, which eventually led to full-fledged gang war spilling onto the streets. For instance, the notorious brawls between these groups that happened at Stonecrest Mall during the peak of this beef. You can even find throwbacks of Black Mobb celebrating Glenwood Day until shots are fired at the reunion, presumably by their ops. However, the history of Black Mobb and the fam's beef is irrelevant to this video, but understanding the violent gang politics perpetuated by these two crews on the east side and how they played a huge role in Savage's childhood and the formation of 4L and Slaughter Gang is crucial to understanding Atlanta's current gang politics. Now, entering the 2010s, top members from Black Mobb and the fam would be indicted on RICO charges, which would fundamentally break these crews' structure as the younger generations began taking over and started forming new cliques and sometimes flipping their original set affiliations. And as I mentioned before, sometime during the early 2010s would be when Atlanta had a massive blood gang wave swooping in from the East Coast affiliated sets. What was left of the Black Mobb 2100 members, or simply 21 members after the RICO, would consist of Black Mobb OGs and the younger generations like Savage and his affiliates, who we would all come to be familiar with, like Lil Harold, Slaughter Gang Tip, Johnny B, Tayman, Larry, and many others. And since Black Mobb was so reputable on the east side, they was also tied in with the Zone 6 gangsters, which a lot already repped blood from not only the blood wave striking the city, but also inherited affiliations due to Gucci Mane's hold on East Atlanta. This means that some 21 Black Mobb members were put onto blood, but a lot of the crew were still GD and still haven't flipped yet. And due to the gang's fallen structure, that also means a lot of 21 members split from their original hood and moved to other locations. And one of the first and early hoods the official Slaughter Gang would make their territory is Boulevard in the old 4th Ward neighborhood, known for its section of projects and also, ironically, being the neighborhood of Martin Luther King's childhood home. Now, shortly after the time Black Mobb was fumbled from the impending RICO, those remaining 21 Black Mobb members would go on to take one of their first major losses from the streets in one of the most brutal stories I've heard from the Atlanta scene. I'm of course talking about the death of the beloved 2100 member Larry White, who could be seen in plenty of 21 throwback pictures and was known as one of the wild cards in the clique. Not much is known about Larry due to the time at which he passed away, but in 2021, 21 Lil Harold would release a documentary about their beloved brother that would give us an insight into who he was as a person. Show you the amount of love and respect Larry had amassed with his 2100 family. But eventually what's done in the streets will eventually shed to light and catch up with you, as prominent 21 member OG and one of Savage's best friends. 21 Crucial goes into detail about the fatal night Larry was killed and what may have led up to it. See, in 2010, Harold would be attending Reedon High School in Stone Mountain, just 16 years old at the time, where he would eventually get into an argument with rival students at the school, which led to a scuffle. Eyewitnesses at the scene describes that Harold would pull a gun out and fire into the air, which spooked the school police guard, prompting him to shoot Harold 4 times. Harold can be seen in throwback pictures in the hospital from the incident, and when he was medically cleared, he was locked up and sent to juvenile. This would be the painful reality and start to the 21 crew in the beginning of the 2010s, as not only the gang politics have become borderline chaotic, but the violence here too, and the 2010s would be exactly that time period where Atlanta began shifting from local petty and drug violence to becoming a full-on gangland. See, shortly after Larry's death, 21 members could be seen on social media sharing his memories for years to come. Savage's very own Instagram page ironically being the highlight documenting this time him and his crew were going through, as you can find plenty of Instagram posts on Savage's page dedicated to his fallen brother. Unfortunately, just 2 years later after Larry's death, 21 members would become more heavily involved in petty street activities like drug dealing, shootings, and robberies that would go on to eventually take the life of another beloved 2100 member who was mentioned before, Johnny B. Johnny, sometimes went by Lil B, was Savage's right-hand man and his best friend before he went on to become a rap superstar, and Savage would often post pictures with him since he first opened up his Instagram account in 2012. However, the posts leading up to Johnny's death are low-key eerie, as Savage is seen occasionally telling the world how he feels on top of reminiscing on Larry. As a few days before Johnny was killed, Savage took to Instagram to express how he's done everything but died, unknowingly foreshadowing the next couple weeks where Savage would be celebrating his birthday until a drug deal went wrong in the Stanford Oaks apartments in Tucker. Savage, Johnny, and the supposed buyer or dealer were all chilling in a car until the assailants would eventually pull his weapon, letting off 8 to 10 shots, striking both. Johnny was instantly killed in this incident, while Savage was fortunate enough to survive the shooting and return fire to one of the assailants.
Then he take off back seat.
Okay.
But my bro, like I remember
Wow.
Think about that. Do you think about that day? What could have been? What could you have done different?
Yeah, hell yeah. But I ain't even want to really ride with him that day. Cause I was really just trying to chill. It was my birthday.
Right.
We had some shit, like some drink and shit, some liquor and shit. We was finna get drunk. So I was really just going over there to kick it with him.
Right.
Type shit. So yeah, I be thinking about that. But the main thing I think about is like I heard his grandma on the phone telling him like, I'm ready. Cause he pick her up from work every day.
Right.
And I just used to think like, damn, I wish he would've just went and got his grandma instead, type shit.
Johnny's death would strike the 2100 crew drastically, and this would be one of just many instances that changed Savage's life and shaped 4L into what it is today. Savage could be seen fresh in and out of the hospital after being taken in by medics in the following days. After the tragic loss of Johnny, Savage could be seen back on the streets and recovering from the fatal shooting in good spirits. This would be the beginning of the Slaughter Gang crew as we know it, as 2100 members closest to Larry and Johnny began claiming blood and would begin putting in work and claiming hoods in the Zone 6 part of the city.
R.I.P. to Johnny, man. Miss you, bro. I help bullying with my bro. Real nigga.
Now the infamous 4L moniker that's been popularized by Savage and his crew, which would eventually turn into a full-fledged gang alliance influencing the city's entire gang politics, was first mentioned in 2012 and 2013 by 21 Crucial under the acronyms BS4L, which means Block Shit for Life. Block Shit, or Block Boy, was a common phrase or crew shouted out and repped by lots of 21 members, including Crucial, who used to go by Block Boy Crucial, and Savage with Block Boy tattooed on the side of his face. The phrase for life was also beginning to be used by Crucial and Savage as homages and vows to their beloved crew, promising to represent 21 and their fallen brothers for life. However, it didn't begin being pushed as a movement until the final loss coming from the original Black Mobb and 2100 Slaughter Gang group known as Tayman. As mentioned earlier, the early Slaughter Gang crew at the time, consisting of Savage and his closest affiliates, formed the clique in memory of their fallen brothers. And as Savage previously mentioned, the logo for their clique was supposed to be the now infamous dagger logo, now associated with the Slaughter Gang brand, with Slaughter Gang members originally planning to all get the tattoo between their thumb and index finger. You see, 21, or 2100, referring to the entirety of Glenwood Road, means a lot of members were from or lived off Glenwood, not referring to a particular section of the block as you would commonly see in other cities like Chicago, where O Block and STL are both technically off 63rd, both O Block doesn't claim it. In Atlanta, both of those hoods would have probably been one the same thing, and their ops would probably be off an entire other section or street, not down the road or across the street from each other. This means that 2100 had plenty of sub-hoods, as I call it, that were off Glenwood. G-Block being one of those hoods early 21 and Black Mobb members claimed, being arguably the OG hood of the 21 crew in which it was formed. Anyways, G-Block was also beginning to become a heavily blood-affiliated hood around this time in early 2014 due to its Slaughter Gang affiliations. And wherever there's gangs and crime, there also tends to be plenty of violence here too. Unfortunately, on March 20th of 2014, just a little before 11:30 p.m., 18-year-old Quantavious Armstrong, commonly known as Tayman to his peers, was walking to a food mart just a short distance outside of G Block until he was suddenly and tragically gunned down by an unknown assailant. No arrests have been made to this day. And just as the last two losses from the 2100 crew, Tayman's death would be a tragedy for his beloved brothers, as 21 members can be seen grieving him days after the shooting, and multiple videos and pictures would release around this time of Savage and his affiliates often visiting his memorial outside of G Block. Now, after Tayman's death, 2100 members could be seen getting deeper into the streets, repping blood to the fullest, and linking with notorious gangs and other hoods on the east side and Zone 6. such as the time Savage dropped his low to Alley Boy in a now deleted back and forth showing him posted on what would then be one of Slaughter Gang's main hoods, Boulevard, as I mentioned earlier. There's even pictures and videos circulating of Savage posted up and walking in the temp, which I mentioned earlier as currently being 4L's soon-to-be Ops 3L. This just shows you how connected Savage really was with the city's bloods, as he began gaining a reputation around the entire Atlanta, not just on the East. And while Savage could be seen on Instagram prior in the studio and previewing new music, it wasn't until then, after Tayman's passing, he and other 21 members began taking music seriously and began networking with other artists and gangs due to their newly found connections. Not only did Savage have a tragic and authentic story behind him, but the entire 21 crew did as well, and everyone in Atlanta must have seen that during the rise of Slaughter Gang. Now, coming off the steam Savage and Slaughter Gang were quickly making in the city, Savage would later go on to release his mixtape next year in 2015, Slaughter Tape, that basically made him one of the biggest underground Atlanta artists, which gradually turned him mainstream when he went on to release songs in the next couple days like Red Flag, Blue Flag, and of course Red Ops. Now, 21 Savage was huge in Atlanta at this time as he was blowing up, and many affiliates and cliques began being put on to 4L and began repping it to the fullest, such as Savage's cousin Young Nudie, who I stated before is from the 1504 Paradise East apartments in Zone 6, who was already repping blood before he joined 4L due to the apartment's blood affiliations dating from Gucci Mane. You see, Paradise East was not only a notorious hood, but it was also a gang repped by those who lived there, sort of similar to O Block. PDE had their own history and affiliations, such as being clicked up with the Bloods from Allison Court all the way on the west side in the Zone 4 and SWATs area. Allison Court is an infamous street and section of dangerous apartments off Zone 4's Campbellton Road, and has had blood activity ever since the massive wave kicked through the city. Interestingly enough, they were also clicked up with the Allen Temple Bloods just 9 minutes away. And it would be from Nudie and Savage's 4L affiliations that Allison Court Bloods would be put on to 4L. Particularly the 1504 PDE 4L clique Young Nudie soon formed after it became a giant movement. And now 4L members from the west side would go by a hybrid 4L clique called West Side 2100. And those closest to Nudie and the east side would join PDE 4L and begin putting in work for their hood. Notable members from Allison Court would be 4L Quan, Lotto Savage, and surprisingly Baby Drill, who would go by Christo at this point. Other notable cliques and hoods that began repping under the 4L banner would be a gang of Bloods in the 1900 Glenfair Road apartments off Glenwood known as One Gang, and another reputable blood clique from the east side called 20 Gang. Things were in motion for Savage and 4L, and they would start a wave that would probably never be replicated on the city's east ever again. But little did they know that they would also lose multiple other members to this new alliance and become one of the most influential crews in the entire world. Now come 2016. 4L and PFK were arguably in their peak together as one before the beef, with Savage releasing hits like Dip Dip, No Heart, and of course being nominated in the iconic 2016 XXL Freshman Cypher.
Rolling on my beach, 30 on my way.
With Nudie making noise for the PDE side of 4L with his own catalog of hits coming out at the time like Rough Life and Don't Beef. However, on the PFK side of this new alliance between the richest crews in the city, Lil Marlo and other PFK members could be seen flashing their expensive jewelry and other riches they've achieved rather off moving weight, instead of making a presence in the rap scene yet. Similar to the start of the 21 crew, PFK was more focused on making their money and notoriety off street activities, as they were caught in the violent cycle that comes with this life and haven't thought about rapping yet. Interestingly enough, Lil Marlo could be seen promoting and supporting Lil Baby at the beginning of his career, expressing how tied in they were with each other. The Sierra Ridge Apartments, better known as the 9th Ward, or simply the 9, was not only PFK's main hood at the time, but it was also beginning to reveal its presence to the world within the music industry, and criminal underworld of being like a gang haven of the richest and most powerful crews in the city, these projects bringing in hundreds of thousands from drug trafficking alone.
You know me, man. Black John got it, man. You dig what I'm doing. Mobb shit, man. Yeah, we live in the motherfucking 9 on Delmar right now. A lot of you niggas can't come here, period. Matter of fact, none of you niggas can't come here, period, you dig?
Nigga gotta tap
in. For real, it's real. Coastal Notion in the motherfucking building, you dig? We get it all out the trap spot. That boy 9 slam with me. Yeah. Get it or die.
In fact, plenty of videos and vlogs in the 9 these crews would document themselves in would feature the likes of big names in these alliances like Young Nudie and 21 Savage himself. In an interview focused on the notorious rapper No Plug, who was making waves in the city with his new music and ties to both PFK and 4L.
Cigarillo, he know backwood. Ain't dead.
Got my nigga Young in the slaughter gang shit, man. We walk around with dimes, man. You hear me, man? You having this shit. Y'all niggas broke. I know y'all broke.
Rap for 10 years. Still ain't got no motherfucking
okay, trappers too. Y'all been trapping all y'all life, still working.
All these gay ass rappers, man. All these faggot ass rappers.
Deal, man. We do this shit.
We do this shit out here, man.
We run the city, you know y'all know who run the city, man.
Gay ass rappers, man. Fake ass trappers, man.
Yo, bro, what's up, no, bro?
Y'all niggas know what the fuck going on.
Yeah, you know what the fuck going on.
Y'all know the fuck we rocking, man. Period.
9-1 shit.
9-1 motor cracks, nigga. Y'all know what the fuck going on. Mobb shit, murder gang shit.
With some money in the middle.
Fuck side gang, nigga. Breaking news gang.
Breaking news gang, nigga. We gon' whack you pussy ass. Oh, man. Don Lee pay perk gang shit, man. Mobb shit, man. No bullshit, little bitch. No, man. PD shit, man. 21 gun salute, man. 2 gun everything, little bitch.
Slaughter gang shit, man. 9-1 shit. Motor crack shit. Home shit. Y'all niggas get y'all money up, get y'all bodies up. Doing this shit.
Slime ball. Slime ball.
Now this goes on to show you how clicked in all of these crews were at one point, with multiple Mobb and PFK members claiming 4L and vice versa. 4L members would show their affiliations to their crew by throwing up 2 L's together, forming what they call the Bermuda, which is simply a triangle, and PFK members would still be throwing up their gang signs repping Mobb. Interestingly enough, in one 9th Ward vlog with Nonfiction VIP, Fiction mentions that the 9, more specifically the Harvest Oaks apartments right next to it, was the location for a music video that was shot by the rapper Bankroll Fresh, who can also been seen shooting parts of the video in the temp, with PFK's Loso Loaded also making an appearance.
Man, live in 9th Ward right now, man. Same place I shot the goddamn VIP treatment video at. My brother Bankroll Fresh shot that Hot Boy video at. You know what I mean? Well, keep a good flavor live, we do everything, you know what I mean? Got my nigga down 3, I didn't motherfucker. You know what I mean?
See, Bankroll Fresh was a rising rapper from the Zone 3 side of the city, specifically the Mechanicsville neighborhood where he spent most his time growing up in the streets as a drug dealer, or self-admittedly being a hot boy, in which Fresh describes as the type to stand on any and all business, garnering him a reputation before the rap, just as a lot of his peers.
Life of a Hot Boy 2 is the sophomore mixtape to Life of a Hot Boy 1. I mean, you know, just me, a hot boy. A hot boy is something like another nigga just hot in the street, getting money, like the flex, like the stunt, always into some shit about business, about money. That's what a hot boy really is in my city. When I put Life of a Hot Boy 1 together, it was like my first solid body of work, you see what I'm saying? So that got me into the game to seeing what the game could be, to where I started getting my own shows and shit. And I seen what, you know, what was going on with the music. With part 2, it's just me coming along, just showing how
I'm performing with this shit, how I'm taking this shit to the next level. So you
See, coming off the success of his biggest album, Life of a Hot Boy 1, Bankroll Fresh was officially one of the hottest rappers in Atlanta, no pun intended. You would also come to find out in plenty other interviews where he explains his come-up, which eventually led to him being tied in with the Allen Temple Bloods and the would soon-to-be PFK members in the 9 ever since he was a kid. Yeah, Atlanta's that small. And with that, you would come to find out that a lot of the biggest rappers here knew each other as kids or simply before they even began rapping. However, as buzzing as Bankroll Fresh was beginning to gain amongst the city's biggest gangsters, even being allowed to shoot his breakout single in one of the most dangerous hoods, his hot boy mentality would be just of that which what would have eventually got him killed by that same hood. Sadly, leading up to Bankroll Fresh's death, there seemed to be unresolved personal conflicts between Fresh and other PFK members, and it suddenly escalated when Bankroll Fresh and his crew were handing out gifts to the kids in the Temp and the 9. Long story short, some 3L members weren't fond of Fresh showing up in their hood and handing out gifts, especially considering he wasn't even from there. In fact, the person who was accused of killing Bankroll Fresh from the 3L crew would be no one other than No Plug himself, with this heartbreaking incident being that of what would put him on the map in the music scene. In an extensive interview with Vlad TV, No Plug goes into detail about the events that led up to Bankroll Fresh's death and what happened that tragic.
Recently, there was a situation, there was a shooting, and I remember your name was connected to it, but we didn't really have all the information, so we ended up not reporting it. So let's talk about the whole situation kind of from beginning to where we are right now. Now, you and Bankroll Fresh were friends since you were kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain that.
Like explain our friendship?
Yeah, like when did y'all meet and how close was the friendship?
Okay, well we met like when we was probably like 10 or 12, some shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Like we was tight, we always been tight, you know what I'm saying? Like he was my boy, that was my boy, you know what I'm saying? Like our friendship always been good, you know what I'm saying? Until like a certain level of his career came about, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, and what happened at that point?
Well, it was just a lot going on, you know. We'll like if I see him, you know what I'm saying, we'll speak, but I was never like with him like when he first started rapping, like got out there, I was never around, you know what I'm saying? I was always on the block. So when I see him, I speak to him, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not just going to pulling up on him and all that, you know what I'm saying? But when I see him, you know, we kick, you know what I'm saying? We kick shit.
Okay, and you're from the 9th Ward?
I'm from Allen Temple, but yeah, I'm 9th Ward, mate, yeah.
You guys were friends up to a certain point. His career started going a certain type of way, and you guys kind of just drifted your own separate ways?
Yeah, some shit like that, yeah.
Okay, so late last year in 2015, there was a turkey drive, and there was some sort of altercation that happened?
Yeah. Yeah, we just, like, my little cuz, you know, Skate, he ain't play no parts in none, you know what I'm saying? He always played both sides, you feel me? He was passing out toys already, or food, whatever they was passing out. So he was in the 9. Fresh, he was already in the Temp and already passed out everything, you know what I'm saying? So Skate, he's passing out everything, then I guess Fresh called him and tell him he finna pull in the 9. You know what I'm saying? So he just pulled in the 9, you know what I'm saying? So we was like, we ain't really fucking with you like that, you feel me? So he just got escorted out. Like he didn't get robbed. He didn't, like, I wasn't gonna let none of that type shit happen, you know what I'm saying? Cause he's still my boy. He was still my boy, you feel me? But we just went seeing eye to eye, you feel me? So we just escorted him out the 9, you know what I'm saying? Like he just rolled out and Skate continued doing what he was doing, you know what I'm saying?
So Bankroll Fresh was basically giving out toys and whatever.
He was giving out toys in Allen Temple. And Skate, Schoolie, he was giving out toys in the 9. You know what I'm saying? Fresh tried to come to the 9 after everything he had done passed out everything, you feel me? To the little kids and shit. Yeah, so we just wouldn't know, you ain't finna just come in our hood and just, you know what I'm saying? Cause we let him shoot the Hot Boy video in the 9, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's when shit was peaches and cream, you know what I'm saying? He coming every day to the 9, I'm giving him weed to smoke, you feel me? I would never know hatred shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas that know me and him, everybody know him really know me. They know I've been having my way, you feel me? Like I've been having my way ever since high school. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything always been good, but at a certain point, he just, females he was talking to who I hadn't already ran through, like, it was jealousy, all kind of stuff, bro. Like, I couldn't believe him.
Now, Bankroll Fresh understandably wasn't feeling this, probably feeling somewhat betrayed by the very same crew that helped put him on. And from this minor incident, Fresh began holding personal grudges against PFK members, including No Plug, because shortly after Fresh was kicked out the 9, he would be visiting the Street Execs recording studio with a dozen of his crew on March 4th of 2016. Things were seemingly chill at first until No Plug pulled up to the studio with multiple notable 3L and Mobb members, while an entourage of Bankroll Fresh's crew were present, probably causing Fresh to feel invincible. Because what happened next was a situation that could have totally been avoided. Bankroll Fresh allegedly went up to No Plug, attempting to check him about letting his goons kick him out the 9. No Plug apparently tried to de-escalate the situation, understandably considering how deep Fresh was, until Fresh would allegedly snub No Plug across his forehead, causing a full-on fight to break out. Both crews would eventually break up the tussling, and No Plug would leave the studio and go back to his car, and upon realizing he had left his phone, he would enter the studio again, only to be met by Bankroll Fresh and his goons with their guns out. They weren't going to let him get his stuff. No Plug then left again and got back in the car, and upon entering, Bankroll Fresh would exit the studio too, aiming his weapon at No Plug and the PFK nigga's car. Whether it was for intimidation or Bankroll Fresh was really on that night, he would make his last fatal mistake when he apparently began shooting at the vehicle. PFK members would return fire, striking Bankroll Fresh numerous times. Now Bankroll Fresh would initially survive the shooting at the scene, his crew dragging his limp body to their car and driving off to the Hugh Spalding Children's Hospital, where he would have then tragically succumbed his injuries, passing away from the wound that struck his abdomen. Bankroll Fresh's death would shock the entire city, with most people shocked and absolutely heartbroken, and some not so much. You see, when Bankroll Fresh was killed, not much information about the incident was known, much except No Plug and his affiliates were involved, and it was a shootout. No Plug would eventually get picked up for the murder, but all charges were eventually dropped, and Fresh's death was ruled as self-defense. As I stated earlier, this would also be the incident that would spiral No Plug's notoriety and career in the long run, and he couldn't escape the Bankroll Fresh questions. However, I'll let you listen to his side of what happened in the shooting to draw your own conclusions.
Okay, so there was a little altercation that happened in the 9th Ward.
Yeah.
Where he was asked to leave that area. So from that time to the studio, had you guys seen each other at all?
Nah, we didn't see each other. That was our first time probably seeing each other at the studio, that night.
Okay, so how did you end up in that studio?
I was on the way to South Carolina, pass out CDs and shit with Lil Cuz. He had a show in South Carolina, so I was gonna go tag along with him just to pass my shit out, you know what I'm saying? Just put my shit on the windows and shit, so he told me to meet him up there. So I met him up there, we went in the building and shit like that.
Okay, so you go into the studio, and then what happens?
Shit, I go to the studio, I'm on FaceTime with one of my hoes, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just chilling, and goddamn like 5 to 10 minutes of me being in there, he approached me from behind, you know what I'm saying? First thing he said was like, damn bro, why you let them put me out the 9? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, that shit old, bro, I don't wanna hear about that shit, bro. Just keep on rapping, bro, just goddamn don't do your thing, you feel me? So he was just so stuck on that old situation, you know what I'm saying? They said his female friend came, straight told him I was down there, and she seen me come in, you know what I'm saying? So they said she told him, relayed the message, he came straight down, approached me with the situation.
Okay, so he approached you, he's still upset about the 9th Ward situation.
Yeah.
What happened next?
Well, he was talking a lot of shit, and I was like, bro, I ain't trying to hear that shit. So I turned around I was finna leave, he tried to mush me. When he tried to mush me, I just grabbed him, you know what I'm saying? Like grabbed him, and we tussled, we fell down the steps. And our childhood friend, C-Note, he broke the shit up, you know what I'm saying, like ASAP, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't throw no punches, none of that type shit. Like it was just a straight, he tried to mush me, I grab him, we fall down the steps, the altercation's over with, you feel me?
Okay, and then what?
I'm finna leave the studio, actually. I was leaving, cause this shit was so fucked up. I was like, bro, you done fucked up, you done tried me in front of all these folks. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like shit gonna get, you know what I'm saying? So boom, boom. I'm finna leave, so I leave the studio, but I check my pockets. So I guess when we fell down the steps, I dropped both of my phones inside the studio. So I pulled back up to the studio, you know what I'm saying? I pulled back up to the studio to get the cell phones. When I pulled back up to the studio to get the cell phones, he came back out with like, probably like 10, 15 niggas, you know what I'm saying? All of them had guns, he had a stick, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, bro. Why the hell do you got a stick for? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, it ain't even that kind of situation. You know what I'm saying? He know I would never like just harm him like that, you feel me? Because I know his mama. I ain't even trying to be looking at his mama like, damn, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm glad she just got some information about the situation. You know what I'm saying? She ain't just really cold-hearted against me, you know what I'm saying? Because she know, goddamn, I wouldn't never on no hatred shit. The situation, he caused the situation to happen. You know what I'm saying? He came out with this gun and shit happened. You know what I'm saying? When he came out playing with the shit, like just playing with the shit, he fired a shot and shit happened. We pulled off, he ended up dead. That's simple the shit was, like, the shit was that simple. Like, he pulled the gun, shot the motherfucker, couple shots got fired back, he got hit, I leave. Next thing you know, folks calling me saying Fresh dead, you know what I'm saying? I called my lawyer, Ash Joseph, Gucci Man lawyer, give him 10,000, go down to the homicide, tell Miss Benton everything, and shit, everything was great.
Now me personally, I just don't buy into the idea of Bankroll Fresh just being so front and violent to No Plug for a minor incident that happened months ago, especially considering No Plug's crew is the very own crew that helped him blow up. However, I didn't know him, and personally I dig into the idea that a lot of his close friends and affiliates were low-key envy of his success. Because not only in the video do you see Fresh's crew seemingly hesitate to shoot back once they've realized who's in the car, but you can also take it from Fresh's own cousin, Street Money Bucci, who'll tell you that a lot of people who Bankroll Fresh looked at as his partners were the same ones who were laughing and joking about the entire situation.
His outcome to turn out how it did, it don't sit well with me.
Of course.
And after the fact don't sit well with me.
Dig it. You said after?
Because it's like a lot of people was happy.
I dig it.
A lot of people was happy.
You said a lot of people was happy?
Yeah.
Happy?
Right, but they wouldn't show the world that.
Huh. I would like to dive deeper. You said a lot of people was happy.
A lot of people was happy.
You talking about haters though, not in a circle.
You can't even, I mean, you can call them haters once everything played out. But it was once upon a time, these were the same people who loved, smiled in your face.
Right.
These the same people who you loved and who you will go over the back for.
Right.
And I should have seen it.
So
when I was with them, but I let him enjoy himself more than what I probably should have.
And not only were his friends ridiculing his tragic passing, but a video would release shortly after the shooting of 21 Savage and No Plug on stage laughing about the situation. No Plug was performing, and Savage could be heard telling No Plug to let the people know you killed Bankroll Fresh, with No Plug laughing hysterically once hearing this, telling Savage, "Hell nah, I'm not saying that."
Come on,
And even in Savage's Vlad TV interview, Savage exclaims that everyone tried to paint No Plug a hater after what happened to Bankroll Fresh.
Being close to No Plug, what do you think about the whole situation?
Man, my point of view, man, I really feel like they tried to paint a bad picture on my brother and try to make him look like he was a hater. It was some envy, jealousy type shit, you know what I'm saying? And
enough. In that video of No Plug and Savage on stage dissing Bankroll Fresh, in the middle between the two is no one other than Marlo, who could be seen laughing with them. Now the shooter behind the incident is somewhat obscure and argued upon until this very day. And you remember when I mentioned how hesitant Bankroll Fresh's crew was to firing back at the shooters? Well, it is a common argument that in that car full of PFK members, Marlo is suggested to have been there, with even some insane theories hinting at Marlo being the possible gunman and not No Plug. However, many people believe that either of them were the shooters and a notable PFK member from the 9 that goes by Blue Eyes, or simply Blue, was actually the shooter. But there's not evidence for any of that. Now, upon seeing who was in that car, undeniably some of the most notorious gangsters in the city, Bankroll Fresh's crew would have directly chosen to go to war and perhaps sign a death wish if they proceeded to hit one of the richest and most dangerous crews in the city. In the case of Bankroll Fresh, morals were weaker than their loyalty, and the 9th Ward gangsters were more important than their day one. This just goes on to show you the fearful reputation 4L, PFK, and Mobb had all garnered during this time. However, not much has come out since his death, and Bankroll Fresh's killers are seemingly living their best lives far past this incident, questioning if his friends and family really ever did care enough to seek revenge. Nevertheless, we begin hearing more news about Fresh after his death 2 years later, sadly in another tragedy, because on July 2nd of 2018, Bankroll Fresh's cousin and her aunt were targeted in a drive-by shooting, raising the questions for if Bankroll Fresh's family actually retaliated, with his family being targeted in response. But whatever the case is, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, a beloved father, a beloved son, was taken away over ignorance in a violent cycle that now had his family dodging bullets, and whether Bankroll Fresh was removed from the 9 or not, it would indeed not even matter now, as the 9 started to catch the attention of the APD, its residents not knowing that the hood would be boarded up not even 3 years later, meeting the same inevitable fate as Marlo's old hood. It is the pinnacle of 4L and PFK's newly formed alliance under the Life and Letters banner, infamously known as birthing the city's most reputable bloods on the east side, the notorious dope boys and killers from Delmar Lane, and deadly gangsters from all over the West. And they all had no problem letting the world know of their illegal activities they're operating in the 9. If you had a name in the streets, then you would probably find yourself in the 9th Ward with dozens of other grimy gangsters. Where Bowen Homes ended, the 9 took its place and ran with it. And it wouldn't come to a surprise that it would also shortly begin seeing a spree of gang-related murders. One notable murder, for example, that made the District Attorney Fannie Williams stomp her feet down would take place on February 10th of 2017, where a 22-year-old man by the name of Dallas Spruill, known to his friends and family as DJ, was shot and killed in a robbery gone wrong while DJ was trying to sell a TV in the 9. Now, DJ's tragic murder would launch one of the most focused and driven operations in taking down members from these crews. Some 3L members eventually getting caught up in a RICO once they discovered the beat and flow being chill and monotoned, but the lyrics casually boasting about gang banging and violence. You could play the song at a family gathering and no one would even notice the dark verses spat throughout the song. That song, of course, being Saw Baby's Pull Up With a Stick, which would chart number 47 on the Billboard and be the biggest song in Atlanta at the time. Now, this case was so notorious that it would end up being featured on the popular crime documentary show First 48, where DJ's death would be covered extensively by Detective Jamael Logan. Origins behind the Pull Up With a Stick track is simple but becomes a rabbit hole the deeper you go. You see, Saheem Malik Valdary, better known as Saw Baby, was initially born in the windy city of Chicago, having stayed on 51st and South Drexel Avenue. Originally hailing from a GD set called MTG on 69th, though. Saw Baby would eventually move to Atlanta when he was 13 years old, due to having family in the city, like his cousin Demon, or Demon Child, who I'll dive into later. and Saw's brother T3 saw the opportunity to capitalize on his music career in the city by being the mastermind behind all his brothers and friends' music, getting them into the studio and sometimes editing their music videos. With their early crew going by the name of CBMG, meaning Casting Brit Music Group. Saw Baby grew up on 1095 Osborne Street off Sylvan Road, and with the help of his brother T3, Saw Baby was able to launch a music career, first being inspired by the gritty drill anthems that was being popularized in his hometown of Chicago, building a fan base and name in the city which would eventually stamp him as a motion getter amongst other hustlers in the area.
I stayed on 51st and Drexel, but I'm originally from 39th. And it was cool, the food was all good. I just know it used to be real cold out there. I just remember like gangs and stuff that stayed around on 51st. I was out of there in Chicago about 13. We moved because I had family down there, family in Atlanta. So, and my brother, he was doing music also, so we wanted to pursue that. We moved to Atlanta, we just packed all our stuff up and just got on the road. It was just that simple. We ain't let nobody know, we just left at nighttime. Yeah, I know it was a lot of more gangs in Chicago, but in Atlanta, they was real good with the dressing. And it's more colorful in Atlanta. We stayed on Sylvan Road, 1095 Osborne Street. They had a group called 1095, so when they was doing music, I wanted to do music too. Like, they kind of inspired me. Just seeing my brother them do it. I was in the studio at 13. Nah, I really wasn't even into music. I just seen, like, I really just wanted to get popular off of it and, like, listen to my own music, because I ain't really, like, listen to music that much, but I did, but I wanted to hit myself, though.
We moved down to Atlanta because I wanted to pursue my music career.
T3 sacrificed a lot. He wanted to do music before me. He been doing music for like 11 years. This was his dream, more than my dream.
Being a good big brother that he was, man, he shelved himself for his little brother. And I love that. That's what I like about this unit, man. This is truly a family endeavor, man, a family unit. Sai, he had a passion for music, man, and we just pretty much vested in that. We bought our first home here in Atlanta, and we was just struggling, man. And you're trying to pay bills, and every dollar counts. But I couldn't be a good parent, man, telling my son not to pursue his dream, man.
I had dropped 2 projects. They ain't really do what I wanted them to do. I see other artists passing me up in Atlanta. We was broke, man. Eating hot dogs and stuff like that.
Now growing up in Atlanta, Saw and his team would become connected to another rising music group in the area, making them gain more clout and notoriety in the area. However, his connections to the Goodfellas mob gang is somewhat complicated. As it turns out, he was just an affiliate. See, upon moving to Atlanta, Saw would meet one of the most notorious mob members in the area, Demon Child, through his uncle. Now, Demon Child wasn't from the 9, or was he PFK, but he became Mobb through the work he put in the streets, which eventually led him to start rapping, gaining even more of a buzz to the point where he became a notable mob member who was allowed in the 9th Ward. And upon Saw Baby's rise in the music scene, he could be seen brandishing an entire new look and persona, riding around with Demon Child with face tats and making a new approach to his music, which was similar to Young Thug's. It was then through Demon where Saw would get put on the Goodfellas crew as rather an affiliate. One of the guys that's cool with everyone and stays around, but haven't really put in any work for the crew. And through Demon Child, Saw would meet and get tied in with some of the biggest names and gangsters in the city. Now Demon Child was also an aspiring rapper and was also closely tied in with the YSL crew, having been featured on Yak Gotti's mixtape, also with Gunna. This shows you how buzzing Demon was in the city, which we would come to know that Demon was also not seeing eye to eye with Saw Baby due to the 9th Ward incident and how he blackballed himself from the city, all before Demon's tragic death on December 4th of 2020 after being shot, urging Saw to release his project, Do It for Demon, shortly after.
October 27th, man, Do It for Demon, coming out tonight. This project is dedicated to my long friend, which we eventually started calling ourselves cousins, Demon Child, Pookie, Demetrius, Lanier, and we right here in front of his old house, man. We had a lot of memories. I really dedicate this project to you, bro. So a portion of the funds gonna be going to your daughter, helping your family out, and we doing this shit for Demon. Like you told me before you passed away, bro, you told me to get to back, like rapping about pain, some shit that we've been through. And bro, when you passed away, that shit was traumatizing, man. So I really dedicate this to you. I hope the fans like it. I hope you like it, bro. Actually, I knew him since I was 13 when we first moved to Atlanta. And we first moved on Sylvan Road with my Uncle Spike. And that's when I first met Demon Child. We started calling each other cousins, and we shared many meals together. We wasn't on that good of a terms when you pass, but at the same time, bro, you gotta appreciate people while they here, man, cause
Now anyways, with Saw's newly founded connections to perhaps the most notorious hood and crew in the city at the time, Saw Baby would pitch his Pull Up With a Stick song as being like the national anthem for GF members, opening the beginning of the song with a clear reference to the gang's phrase, "To love to the mob," and expressing how he has a couple capos and 100 dons at his side. Later on in the song mentioning how he'll call up Slaughter Gang to handle the business when needed. The song clicked, everybody in the 9 seemed to love it, and it truly became the GF anthem. Saw would later go on to send the track to 9th Ward, native Loso Loaded, who repped PFK and Slaughter Gang to the fullest, giving the song its official stamp, and the rest is history. And just like the other examples of lurking in the back of all these incidents, Marlo could be seen present in the Pull Up With a Stick video, flashing the biggest stack of money in the video. It seemed like every tragic situation in the city involving PFK, Marlo was there, or was at least around. And as we soon come to find out, this might have done nothing but made him an even bigger target by not only his opposition, but the feds. Now, in an interview with DJ Small Eyes, Loso Loaded would explain that he knew the song would gain traction because of how many guns were being flashed in the video, before backtracking and saying he doesn't care about any of that.
Now, at what point did you know this song was going to be big? What was the feeling or the moment you're like, this song, out of all songs I do with somebody as a feature, this one's going to go places. This one's going to be something other than the normal music that I've done.
When I had done did my verse to it, when he had done sent it to me and I had done did my verse to it, I was like, shoot, man, like I done been mobbed so long, like, and in the 9 so long, like this is our anthem, you feel me? So, like, cause I'm all for real, like I'm 9th Ward. Like, when you see me, I'm 9th Ward. When you see me, nigga, you feel me? So, like, I ain't, every time you see me, like, that's what I stand on them 10, so, like, goddamn, but, like, I knew it was, when I had put my verse on, I was like, this just a stamp, this just a, you feel me, this gon' send it up through there, like, you feel me? Because I had been rapping already, like, doing my thing, but, like, once I had done got on that and had done connected with him, it, like, when I head up out of there, we had the whole mob behind it. So, like, that was a big thing, like, what made it go. Like, the whole family was behind it. You feel me? So, like, that's why you see all the people on the video, like, the whole family was behind it, period. Like, so, yeah.
What do you attribute the song to its success, aside from the family being behind it? Was it radio? Was it clubs? Was it the internet? Was it mixtapes? Was it a certain platform that really helped catapult this record?
I don't really think it's nothing that catapulted it besides, like, the family. It's nothing else that did it. The guns. The guns. That's what I feel like did it, the guns. But you know, I ain't touch no gun in that motherfucker. I don't give a fuck about no gun. You can look through the whole video. I don't give a damn about having no gun on them.
Now, after the death of DJ, detectives would begin bringing in witnesses to try to shed more light on what happened, shocking investigators. Encouraged by the lack on information they were getting from this case, they brung in the same witnesses later on after the video released. The witness letting the detectives know that what they're looking for might be in Saw Baby's video. Initially believing the shooter had blonde dreads, who can be described as someone actually in the behind-the-scenes video, they were thrown off track until they decided to finally raid the 9 and directly get the answers they were looking for. It's a man named Denarius Harris, who went by the name G8 in the streets. G8 would ultimately be charged for DJ's murder and get sentenced to life, while 24 PFK or 3L members were arrested in result. And just a little over a year after DJ's murder, 3020 Del Mar Lane, the Sierra Ridge Apartments, forever etched in Atlanta's history, as the 9th Ward was officially deemed to be demolished by apartment complex authorities, forcing all its residents to move out within 30 days in the beginning of 2018.
And we first told you a few days ago how the city of Atlanta ordered the Sierra Ridge Apartments torn down in 90 days. Overnight, the residents got another heartbreaking notice: move out in a month. News Edge reporter Jacqueline Schultz tells us how tenants are in a panic.
I don't have nowhere to go in 30 days with 5 grandchildren.
Bernadine Johnson, who cares for her 5 grandkids, tells me she and plenty of other residents of the Sierra Ridge complex are now panicking. Friday, an order showed up on their doors saying tenants must leave in 30 days.
My nephew is a double amputee. It's just not gonna happen. Not in 30 days.
Penelope Willingham says she and others do not know why they're being forced to leave so quickly. On April 23rd, a judge for the Atlanta Municipal Court ordered the notorious 28 apartment buildings off Del Mar Lane Northwest torn down in 90 days after city officials and court records called it unfit for human habitation and a haven for excessive criminal activity. Officials recorded over 400 code violations, and police have been called there an average of 3 times a day.
It's just unimaginable. Can't nobody take them and move in 30 days.
Now, after the 9 was set to be demolished, 3L members would take to social media to express how much they missed their hood shortly after, like Felipe. And instead of blaming themselves, a lot of 3L, 4L, and Mobb members would ultimately blame Saw Baby for the 9's downfall, since there was no one else to blame. And a lot of people would use Saw's beef with Offset at the time as a valid reason to stop fucking with him, and essentially blackball him from the industry, cutting all of Saw's ties to Perp Gang, and where pull-up with a sticks effect could be seen on the output of his career, diving more into an artistic Playboy Cardi type of persona, rather than the GF Mobb gangster image that essentially blew him up. And just as most areas, hoods fall, crews split, beefs happen. Because it seems as ever since this video dropped, PFK and 4L's relationship has never been the same, since they were no longer running under one hood, and little did they know, their close friends would soon become their bitter enemies. It has finally come 2019. Savage and his 4L crew are solidified titans in the music industry at this point. After Savage released his second album, I Am I Was, the Mobb was still in the background of all the big rap crews in the city, being like their protection, and PFK, also known as 3L, was still looking for trouble in the streets, still adjusting to their lifestyle after their beloved hood was taken down. And this time, one of the final careless incidents that would be carried out by the PFK crew would actually and allegedly come from Marlo himself. See, growing up in Bowen homes, like many other kids growing up in the drug and crime-infested neighborhoods of Bankhead, Marlo would contemplate ways of getting money in an area embellished in poverty, mixed with not knowing what your next meal would be of the day. Marlo likely felt like he had no other options but to jump off the porch and make money in the streets, of course being inspired by key figures in his life like Shawty Lowe, who I mentioned earlier, had the Bowen Homes projects on lock with not only his drug trafficking operations within the projects, but his musical talents bringing in millions to the area. He had the money, the jewelry, the swag, women, cars, ultimately being what not only Marlo would have sought to chase and look up to just to be accepted in these poverty-stricken areas, but what many other kids in the ghetto came up to idolize.
Talk about Shawty Lowe though, man. Being from Bowen Homes with it,
What kind of impact did he have on you?
My hood cried a river.
Exactly.
I mean, my hood still crying about that.
What goes through your mind when you go back to a time when you was a young Jit out here in these streets and you saw Low doing his thing? How did that impact you and inspire you to want to get into the game?
See, you know, like with Low, I really seen him put the street work down, you feel me?
Yeah.
So I had the ambition to want to be like him in the streets.
Yeah.
Like, then you know, he come with the music. Cause you know, I'm like, man, I know Low ain't no rapper for real, you feel me?
Exactly.
So, you know, I'm like, when I seen him doing, like, what Low doing, man? Then I hit a bit, I'm like, yeah, this gonna work.
And it was then Marlo jumped off the porch at an early age to make ends meet, being known as a humble hustler in his hood that reminded the OGs in the area of one of their homeboys, in which they began calling rude Lil Marlo, as the way he carried himself was exactly like Big Marlo.
But the Marlo name, like, a OG from my hood died named Marlo. So, like, they started telling me, like, I act just like him, hustle like him, do whatever, just like him, then, you know, it's all right. Like, Marlo,
you gonna take that, you gonna hold it
then,
down.
you know, yeah, for sure, you know, my whole Marlo, long little suave. Like,
Now making a name for himself in the city's streets, becoming a hood celebrity before he even began rapping, kind of like a lot of the rappers here. Marlo would continue on the rise while networking with some other of the biggest names in the city. Due to his connections with hoods and gangsters all over the West Side, he would eventually meet Lil Baby, and from there, they would establish a relationship that made them closer than anyone else they were around. Marlo and other friends convinced Lil Baby to start rapping, and then Lil Baby and other friends convinced Marlo too. They were twins. Every time you seen Lil Baby, you seen Marlo, and every time you seen Marlo, you seen Lil Baby. And with Lil Baby quickly blowing up and making moves in the city, Marlo would go on to sign with QC, or Quality Control, which would boost his status and stamp him as one of the next big things in the city. Marlo would go on to release hit after hit, eventually linking up with Young Thug himself, where they would also form a close bond. Thug, ironically, just as he told Lil Baby to keep his head in one lane and leave the streets alone.
it's like, cause you know, me and Young Thug,
yeah,
me and Slime be talking on the regular, you feel me? You know, Slime just telling me like one day, hey man, this Marlo, it's a sacrifice. It's either you want to do that or you want to do that. God ain't gonna let you do both of them. You know what I mean? You know, Slime like a preacher to,
yeah.
You know what I mean? He be preaching. So, yeah, one day it just clicked in my head. I'm gonna listen to what Slime said.
Yeah.
And just started going to the studio every day.
But sadly, Young Thug would turn out to be right considering how things unfolded. See, Marlo had all the talent in the world when it came to making Atlanta trap anthems about his life and experiences in Bankhead. But that same musical passion, the stories behind the lyrics, would be something that he could just not differentiate himself from. Because it is around this time where Marlo would sign to QC, gaining millions, and becoming perhaps the biggest don in the city, where rumors began circulating that he was going around placing bags on niggas' heads, knocking off anyone who's ever thought about crossing him. Now, this rumor of Marlo allegedly using his newly gained money and power to essentially murder people has sparked such debates in the city to a point where some fans suggested that he'd have completely snapped. And as core fans simply looking in from the outside, we may never know what actually caused Marlo to begin moving so viciously in the streets. However, a lot can be appointed to factors those in the African American community can seem to brush over sometimes. Mental health. Now, I'm not defending any of Marlo's actions, but it did seem like he genuinely went through a lot during his life. When you put into factors of how not one, but two places he grew up to call home, completely gone. A lot of his friends and family being murdered, and not forgetting the tragedy that probably broke him most of all, the death of his baby daughter.
Yeah.
You know, it hurt, but I'm used to it. You feel me? I've been losing people all my life.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm immune to losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy because like, we come from nothing. We come from the gutter, you feel me? Like, so it's crazy to see a child immune to losing people.
Yeah.
I mean, losing his loved one.
Yeah.
Losing people going to jail, losing people dying. And it's like, I can't even cry no more, you feel me? Like, cause I done lost so much, like, well, hey man, it is what it is. Take my ticket, keep on pushing, you feel me?
Yeah.
Like, bruh, I lost my own child, like, bruh, ain't nothing that can really make me drop a tear for real.
I mean, can you talk about that though, man? Losing a child, and what was that experience like for you, bruh?
Hey man, I tell all my people around me, hey man, I lost my child, but I pray we don't never have to lose another child. You know what I mean? My brothers, partners, anybody. I did. I lost mine. So I pray that God don't send nobody else down that road.
Yeah.
Hey God, let me be the example. That's it. Don't do it no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you know, then you gotta stand up and be a man, cause you know they see me break down. You know my family gonna break down.
However, what broke Marlo didn't really matter, as there would be dire consequences coming in the streets, allegedly at Marlo's hand. One of the victims he would allegedly have knocked off occurred on December 16th of 2018, where a 28-year-old man named DeMarlon Norwood, notoriously known in the area as Nuke or Capo Nuke, was found dead. Shot multiple times in his car off 1033 Hollywood Road, the Hollywood Shawnee Apartments, a notorious blood and mob hood where rappers like King Von and Duty Low would shoot their hit track. You see, Nuke was not only from the notorious Perry Homes projects that were demolished in 1999, but he was also a capo of the GF Mob crew, as I stated before, as being essentially the bosses over the crew's dons. Nuke had touched down from Rice Street not too long ago, and multiple pictures can be found of him surviving and standing on business within the county's walls.
Whoa, what the fuck going on? Y'all niggas know what the fuck this is, man, in the building. Oh, shit, Mobb, man. Y'all see CO in this motherfucker. Hey, y'all see Brother in this bitch, man. It's a takeover.
And what most of many people don't know is that Nuke was tied in heavily and close with the 4L crew, and would have probably sided with them in the conflict anyway. Nuke was fresh home, back on the streets, but this time planning to change his life around with an entire new approach to his lifestyle: music. See, shortly before Nuke's death, he and other GF members would attempt at starting their own record label, inspired by Slaughter Gang's aesthetics, with notable artists like GFE Cario under the brand. And Nuke could be seen with loads of cash, hinting at the possibility that he could have still been dandling around with dog food. Whatever the case was, he was bringing in plenty of money for the GF crew and was using that to invest in legal, harmless business. But he also had a feared reputation being one of the capos of GF. And with that reputation, he felt like he could get away with anything, as rumors began circulating that Capo Nuke was sleeping with Lil Marlo's baby mother, tempting Marlo to make the call and get Nuke knocked off. Nuke's death would change the city's entire perspective on PFK, and Nuke's family would remember him by embellishing him in a crystal, making him live forever through their hearts.
Developing tonight, this month marks 1 year since DeMarlon Norwood was found shot to death in his car in Northwest Atlanta. Police have not caught his killer.
Well, family and friends will gather tonight for a candlelight vigil calling for justice in this case. Fox 5's Patty Pan joins us now live from Northwest Atlanta. And Patty, you sat down with his mother today, who describes this last year as being torturous for her.
Yeah, in fact, it was exactly a year ago today that Brenda Norwood tells me she got that horrible phone call that has changed this mother's life. Now, a year later, she's no closer to finding out who killed her son and why.
I want justice for my son, and I know God don't give it to me, because I pray every night, every day, every hour, every minute for justice. and I know it gonna come.
Brenda Norwood is a mother with a broken heart, one that won't heal until she gets closure in her son's death. She has spent the last year waiting for answers. Why and who would shoot and kill her son, DeMarlon Nuke Norwood?
I know it can happen to anybody, but I never thought it would happen. Hit this close to home. It's hard. It's really hard on all of us.
Mrs. Norwood tells us someone shot her son several times that night. They believe the shooter was someone her son knew. In fact, she says she's been told her son was inside an apartment that night and had walked outside to warm up his car when the shooting happened. She and her family believe someone out there knows something.
If anybody out there know anything, please speak up, because y'all family could be sitting in this same seat. So please speak up. It's time for justice for Nuke. It's time. It's been a year.
Now this just shows you the mindset where Marlo and some other PFK members were in at the time. And these course of tragedies stemming from the 3L crew, mixed with having no problem knocking off top members from their own gang. It's no wonder why they turned out to be arguably the most hated clique in the city. Because what many people don't know is that tensions were already brewing between the PFK and 4L crew. 4L nor did the Goodfellas mob appreciated how 3L were moving in the streets. What happens? You give stone-hearted killers from the most dangerous projects in the city millions, and their reign of terror would only continue to get worse when an 18-year-old 4L member from the PDE and one gang side named Antonio Jones, better known as Madroxk, would tragically be gunned down in a drive-by shooting behind an apartment complex on 1700 Stanton Road, right off Campbellton.
I'm Fred Blankenship. Developing this afternoon, dozens of gunshots sprayed into apartment buildings and cars, and one man is dead. It's all after a shooting outside a Southwest Atlanta apartment building. That's where we find Channel 2's Steve Gelbach on Stanton Road. And Steve, you just talked to one of the neighbors.
This was a large scene, Fred. We counted more than 30 evidence markers, shell casings spread from back over near that building and the grass out here in the parking lot. There are bullet holes in this car on this side of the lot. If you walk this way with me, there are bullet holes upstairs in these apartments going from this side all the way over here, and then even downstairs, at least a half dozen in this lower level unit. And that bullet actually went into the wall at the bedroom where a 7-year-old grandson was sleeping. Now, the young man police, though, believe is dead here, is 20 years old, and no one inside the apartments was hurt. But that victim was shot. Investigators are working to find out if he was targeted, part of what could be a shootout, or just an innocent victim. Atlanta police were called to the Aspen Court Apartments around 4:30 Tuesday morning. Officers first didn't know anyone was shot, but a neighbor flagged them down to say that victim was laying in the grass on the side of the building. I spoke with the neighbor who first called 911 as she hid in her closet.
Now this is around the time we begin to see and hear about the younger generations of these crews. The young niggas behind the scenes putting in work for the rappers. See, just like a lot of other 4L members, Madroxk was testing his other potentials in life with music, having releasing multiple songs on his YouTube page before his death, but big 4L in the streets and had no problem putting pressure to anyone. Madroxk was best friends with the likes of 1504 Mute Baby, 4L Quan, 2 Feet Bino, and Baby Drill. And it would be the death of Madroxk, allegedly by the hands of PFK, is what would be one of the many instances of these younger faces in the 4L crew popping up and going harder in both aspects of the scene. And Madroxk's death, murdered by PFK, would call the young PDE crew to want to retaliate. Baby Drill, who as I stated before, was known as Cristo at this time, and rapped under the name Cristo 4L. Cristo would later go on to release a track called Letter to Rock on his album Mr. Body Dropper, where he expressed how Madroxk's death hurt him so much he didn't want to attend the funeral. Also later going on to mention in his song with 2 Feet Bino that someone spoke on rock and now they're dead. However, leading up to Madroxk's death, things seemed to be iffy between the younger generations of 4L and 3L, as rumors spread that 4L began terrorizing PFK after Capo Nuke was murdered. Chain snatchings, robberies. The streets were claiming the young niggas in 4L were a problem for PFK, as some rumors even allege that members like 4L Quan and Fat J, probably one of the most feared 4L members who I'll get into later, took chains off reputable PFK members, with those 3L members attempting to call Nudie to get their jewelry back. One of those 3L members who allegedly got their chains snatched was a nigga also, a part of the 952 crew associated with rappers like Auntie the Menace and Rollo, YP Lil Ray. Apparently, YP Ray got get back for his stolen chains on the Madroxk hit, insinuating Madroxk also could have been snatching chains. But YP Ray was too afraid to claim the body and copped out to 4L beef as exposed by PFK Lil Top Off.
You feel me? What the hell y'all get mad at me for? Yeah, cause I'm keeping it a buck. The truth hurt, don't it? But shit, y'all ain't killed them niggas. Them niggas took chains and shot up hard, man. Y'all really think I'ma let a nigga who never killed nobody kill me? Me? You think I'ma be his first victim? Man, you a goddamn fool. Like, man, listen, man, I'm smoking the gas. I don't smoke nothing, I ain't rolled, and I'm smoking the gas for real life. Think about that. Now, one of them warring, nigga ain't gonna fuck with me on my mom.
But whatever the case was that led up to Madroxk's death and made these crews begin beefing, 4L had lost two of their closest friends, the older and younger generations both losing their brothers. And this time, 4L was looking to avenge them, this time by planning to take off the head of the snake. From the death of Bankroll fresh, to the murder of civilians trying to make a living. From a spree of hits involving the murder of a beloved mob boss, and finally the murder of a young 4L member. PFK were never bigger targets, not only by their opposition, but even by the ones they were tied in with. And nothing would ever be the same for the 3L crew, as just not even 5 months after the death of Madroxk, Marlo would be attending the annual Bankhead reunion event on July 11th of 2020, known as Bankhead Day to the Natives, which is a block party reunion event for the people from the Zone 1 area. Marlo was most likely followed by those who he felt comfortable around, trusted, because upon leaving he'd eventually get onto the I-285 interstate, and shortly after, another vehicle pulled alongside his car and opened fire into Marlo's vehicle, striking him multiple times and causing him to wreck the vehicle. Marlo would sadly pass away at the scene.
3 shootings in Atlanta overnight and in the early morning hours as the city works to combat a spike in violent crime since the 4th of July weekend. Now, first, police say someone shot and killed a man in a single vehicle wreck on the interstate. It happened on I-285 near the Benjamin E. Mays drive overpass, and it was around 11:30 Saturday night. Investigators believe the victim, Rudolph Johnson, was the intended target of that gunfire. Well, they're also working to determine the circumstances surrounding that shooting. There are several reports this afternoon that the victim was a well-known Atlanta rapper, Lil Marlo. NBC News says the Fulton County Medical Examiner confirmed the death. Several in the hip-hop community have taken to social media to offer their condolences, and police were still looking for the suspect this evening.
See, Marlo's death, confusing and completely random to most, unbeknownst of his troubled actions in the streets, had the entire city heartbroken. Marlo achieved everything he'd dreamt of, and it was all taken away over a violent cycle that repeats itself within these areas. And at this point, with how much enemies he and his PFK crew made in a short span, it was quite next to impossible to know for sure who did it, considering it's seemingly a cold case now. But that didn't stop the city from drawing their own conclusions. See, after Marlo's death, some PFK members began going by Rude Unit to honor their fallen brother. Meanwhile, some other members Marlo looked at as family would be completely silent about the entire thing to not directly choose a side, considering No Plug and Lil Baby's public close ties to those alleged. Meanwhile, those putting in work for them are losing their lives to one another in the streets. You see, just like the deaths of Nuke and Madroxk, Marlo's death would be a tragedy, but a blessing that would pave the way for his younger brothers to shine in the PFK crew. We begin really hearing about those young PFK members, or 3L drill rappers outside of just their street buzz, with names ringing in like PFK Meat, Check PFK or Checkion, We Too Hard, Lil Junior Omerta, and of course DB Omerta. Now DB Omerta would perhaps come to be arguably one of the most notable 3L members from the young niggas, and actually passed Marlo's car on that tragic night.
Recently passed away. You've publicly made Instagram posts about it, stated how you felt and how you feel about the situation, but how'd you hear about it?
Yeah. Shit. I heard about it like
I think I was with my little brother. I with my little brother right now. Like I with my little brother sitting in the car. And like one of my older brother called and like, no, somebody called my little brother's phone and was like, it was like they said Marlo just got shot or some shit. And got down. And we go to where he was at. But everybody like where he was at, we go over there. He went over there though. I'm like, shit. I think we were riding on the Spruill, and like on the other side of the Spruill, you see a whole bunch of traffic. So I'm like, damn, somebody just wrecked. Not knowing that, you feel me, my brother over there. So by the time we get the news, go over there, shit. When I seen the car, shit, it was just, nigga already knew.
What was your relationship with Marlo like?
Man, Shadow was like a real big brother to me. Like, stayed on my ass, especially about that rock shit. Like, Shadow was just on my ass, man. Made sure I stayed in the studio. That's where I get my, starting to like the studio from. Like, cause he used to have you in the studio. Like, any one of the bro went to the studio, you know you finna be in the studio for more than 16 hours. All day. Like, and you recording, you ain't finna be in there lounging around all day, your ass finna be working, like. So shit, that's why I just get that type of I can stay in the studio for a long period of time. Like just a whole bunch of shit, like just dealing with anything. Shadow was just like giving you so much game.
However, upon the countless debates and speculation upon who could have possibly killed Marlo, a man named George Chidi, a well-known Atlanta crime journalist, suggested that Marlo's death could have been possible retaliation for a murder Rude's brother committed in Brookshaven about 30 minutes from the city. Chidi suggests that the case had all its evidence pointed at Marlo's brother being the direct killer, but things went iffy in the case, such as witnesses disappearing and no cooperation. The case would ultimately end up being dismissed, with Marlo's brother being let off scot-free. But Chidi suggests that those close to the victim sought out retaliation, and since they couldn't get Marlo's brother, they got Marlo instead. However, in an interview Chidi would have with DJ Vlad, he would go more into depth about this situation.
There was a lot going on with the Lil Marlo thing. Lil Marlo's brother was accused of a murder in Brookhaven, and that murder case went bad. And by went bad, I mean prosecutors had to drop the case mid-trial, which never ever happens. Like the judge said, you're done. Case dismissed. You're free to go. To two guys that they believed they had enough evidence to convict. The problem is, their two witnesses disappeared on them, and they're gone. And I think the prosecutors believe they went off to California. They didn't want anything to do with this. So Marlo's brother gets off scot-free of a murder that was gang-related. And it makes you start to ask whether or not Marlo's murder was retaliation for this other guy not going to jail or being punished for a murder.
However, others believe that Marlo's death wasn't exactly the work of his opposition, but his own friends in a response to how he was moving in the streets. On top of rumors Marlo had gotten so reckless he attempted to place a bag on Savage and Nudi's head amidst the beginning of their beef with 4L and Mobb. Other rumors began spreading that Marlo had gotten to a point where he began even placing bags on Lil Baby's friends and his 4PF affiliates, which would likely explain why Baby acts like Rude never existed.
Just see your man slumping on the expressway, you kind of feel some type of way. But if you know the situation and you know what's going on and you know at the back of your head, you know they still come with it. That's a part of the streets. Some people get killed. I know that come with being in the street already. It ain't like Marlo got killed and I was like, damn, boy, you can really get killed. I know this. This ain't nothing I don't know. Marlo a real case of like the streets and the rapping. Two whole different worlds. And he more so got caught up in the streets than rapping.
He was always supportive, man. He was always happy for baby. Bro, even if I don't make it, if you make it, all of us done make it.
Although, the most popular and common theory seems to hit at Mobb getting their payback as a direct result of Marlo allegedly taking out Nuke, with some other theories even alleging 4L was on the hit too. And as time continues to pass, we might actually find out that that might actually be the case here. As after the death of Marlo, one of those prominent young 4L members began being pushed by his crew, shouted out by other members for being one of their top killers, who, as some believe, went on to capitalize and brag about the murder in countless songs, blowing up and building a career from this newly gained reputation as being perhaps the killer of one of the biggest ops in the city. Baby Drill. The young nigga epidemic has impacted the world around 2020, and Atlanta was no exception. Rappers like King Von were blowing up making millions, having his anthems about murdering and smoking on dead rivals being played at NBA games, fundamentally changing the narrative on the world's gang politics itself. The O-Block war against 63rd hit mainstream and let niggas all over the world know that if you're claiming to be gangsta, you need to at least have 7 bodies and have ops you're smoking on. A narrative being pushed by King Von and the OTF Collective. Drill music originated in 2012 in Chicago when Chief Keef blew up at 16 years old dissing niggas and rapping about the violence occurring on his blocks. The trend would die down a bit until King Von got released from jail and Lil Durk made him a superstar, attempting to turn a killer gangster into the realest gangster rapper there ever was. The rap industry began being flooded with this violent mindset to the point where regular music was deemed corny now to the mainstream, meaning everyone had to switch up their tactics, or for gangsters all over the world to catch the wave and potentially make millions from their struggles. See, unbeknownst to most, DB Omerta himself would actually take the drill wave, now being popularized in other cities, and arguably started it in the city in 2019 when he dropped his song 32 Shots, where he dissed niggas and told the world he's thugging in the temp. 32 Shots, being a direct diss in the title itself towards the 4L crew before Marlo died, referencing the 32 slogan yelled by some 4L members.
Hey, so DB, what the hell made you start rapping, gang? Cause a nigga know you for real, man. What the hell made you start rapping?
Dissing niggas. Dissing. Start rapping, dissing niggas.
So how you feel when they saying like you like the one who started, and you the one who brought drill to Atlanta?
I did. I'm the first nigga. I ain't gonna say I'm the first nigga about drill to Atlanta. I was the first young nigga drilling and rapping from Atlanta. And then everybody followed behind my footsteps.
What the hell inspired you to do 32 Shots?
Heard when you see me for a nigga gon' slap me, young nigga, you ain't gon' do shit to me. I'm in the tip posted right now with handgun, yeah, Glocks and 223. Fuck nigga know not to play with me. I keep them busy, stay with me. Call a trap baby, we shoot your street. Call it just to be ready.
That shit was a diss song to goddamn. So yeah, that shit was a diss song I did. I was dissing niggas out there. That shit blew up.
Where is that now? What is that? What? 4
shit like 4 million views.
Now, as I stated before, DB Omerta would go on to become not only one of the most prominent 3L members, but also the most prominent figure in the Atlanta drill scene. And on the other side with 4L, they weren't really taking the dissing lightly, because amidst the numerous failed attempts at taking off with rap, Christo wasn't gaining the traction he quite wanted with music. But suddenly, Christo must have hired the greatest marketing agent on the planet because he managed to take his average 4L gangster rapper persona and turn it into something bigger. You see, Christo wasn't quite feeling 3L's disses and the attention their drill anthems were getting, and he began riling up new tactics to gain attention with the reputation of Marlo's alleged killer. Because shortly after 32 Shots, Christo would release a triller of him walking around the temp, 3L's hood flashing guns and smoking, with how dead he made 3L's hood seem humorous. However, DB wasn't quite feeling that as well, because in response to Christo pulling up to his hood unannounced, DB would release a snippet a year later after Marlo's death titled 4LK Stepper, where he claims he's 4LK multiple times, his ops are broke, and he's going to cook Lil Cristo. The war was official now, and outsiders finally began to understand. Eyes were on Atlanta. Wicked shit was going on in the city. Now, Cristo wasn't with the self-snitching at first, which is probably what held his career back. But he also had gained the name Baby Drill in the streets due to his alleged rack of hats he allegedly caught for the 4L crew. Now, the bar was set. Just 4 months later, Cristo would release a new song. But not like any of his previous work. This time he had on the biggest 4L and PDE chain he's ever had. A ski mask over his head. Surrounded by the most certified gangsters in the crew. The lyrics were demonic, essentially being a self-snitching anthem of murdering people and gangbanging. And the beat was something new. A hint of the classic Atlanta trap futuristic synths, but with distorted 808s rocking the beat. Something that would now become a staple in the Atlanta drill sound. This time, he was Baby Drill. Now, the Baby Drill persona would boost Cristo's career and make him one of the biggest upcoming rappers in the city, his views tripling off the popularity of 32 Freestyle, and thus he became the biggest Atlanta drill rapper at the time, with everyone trying to mimic his sound and wave. But as big as Cristo was beginning to become, his ego did too, because he began becoming bolder with his DCs towards Marlo. And he and his crew also became bigger targets, because just a couple weeks after Baby Drill would drop his 32 Freestyle, challenging anyone to go to war with them over the gnarly track. On March 21st of 2022, officers responded to Forsyth Street around 12:30 p.m. on a report of a 25-year-old man inside his car and found with a gunshot wound. He was transported to the hospital where he died from his injuries. His name was Dontavius Thomas, better known by his friends and family as Duntsane, or simply Dunt. Dunt was a beloved PDE 4L member, close with a lot of the top members, and I can imagine this was another tragic loss for the 4L crew. Because a month later, young Nudie would go on to collab with Baby Drill in a song titled after Dunt in his memory, and Baby Drill's career would skyrocket with this Nudie feature. Interestingly enough though, at the peak of Baby Drill's career, it seemed like the feds were watching these crews' moves, because Drill would be ironically picked up by the APD for a murder.
What's up? Lamar. Alright, turn around. Turn around.
Why you taking him for that? What's going on? You ain't gonna say nothing?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Alright, hold up.
Come on. No. You're not touching nothing on it. You're not touching nothing on it. I'll be back with you in a minute.
What you getting locked up for?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Where's his phone then? Give me his phone.
He's not getting the phone. Nope.
You got his phone in your hand.
I don't care. You're not getting that.
Hey, let me get him my phone and shit. My keys to the
Negative. Wow. I'll give you all that. Let me do my investigation. You need to back your ass up. Back up. Let me do my investigation, and I'll be done. If he wants to give you shit, I'll let him give you shit.
All right, go ahead.
Sit down.
Now what's going on?
Well, y'all getting up in my face, so y'all need to back up. Sit down.
I know what's going on now.
Nah, it's a warrant on me. A warrant on my wrist. I just heard him.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a warrant. So,
okay,
y'all need to back up all
what you getting arrested for? We talking about what you getting arrested for?
Without my lawyer.
He's got a warrant for homicide. That's what. So you need to back up for me. Get in.
Hey, bro, they got a warrant for homicide, bro. So I'm trying to give you my key. What you hanging up for?
What you hanging up on?
I need to search your pockets, dude.
Bro.
Work with me.
Hey, bro, I don't have nothing on me. No drugs. Hey. What the fuck you doing?
I gotta search you.
Alright. Nigga, you tripping, huh?
He ain't got nothing on, bro.
For real, shawty?
He ain't got nothing on.
It don't matter. It don't matter. We gotta get these keys out anyway.
Yo, they ain't going to you.
Hey,
bro, don't touch me. That's what you don't do. I don't care about no law. I know what I'm talking about, nigga.
Alright, well, come on.
Yeah.
Dude, you're in custody now.
Okay, let me be in custody. My vehicle's parked.
Okay,
I was outside my vehicle. You didn't arrest me in my vehicle.
That's okay. I'll give
my
you the keys.
vehicle don't have nothing to do with nothing.
That's the main reason for the stop.
That wasn't the main reason for the stop.
That is.
No, it wasn't.
Reckless driving does not matter. That's why I stopped.
You better go try somebody else, not me.
Come on, man.
There's a warrant.
No, you did just hand it over. You don't. No, you did just hand it over. You don't have to count anything. You already doing shit illegal. What are you talking about?
You here now.
Come on, man. That shit not fair, bro.
Have them back up. Have them back up. I've already asked them 15 fucking times.
Bro, you talking to somebody that know what's going on, bro. That's what you felt to realize. Get the money in my back pocket. Don't really get it, bro. Got some more money in my back pocket.
What are you talking about? The money?
Checking out
Alright, what are you doing?
Where's the money in your back pocket?
And this one. Gotta go
This
in.
one right here.
Yeah. Shit. Oh.
You got any other things on you? No more money.
Shit, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if it's in my other pack. I'm 4 packs in like baby.
We'd come to find out that this arrest actually wasn't for Marlo, but however for the death of a man named Grady Scott, who was killed earlier in the year. Now all of this on top of Baby Drill's lyrics on Dunsane of dropping the biggest op when he was 17, likely referring to Marlo. It was a matter of time before he began picking up attention from figures like George Cheedy, who went deeper into his criminal history and Marlo references.
Well, another case that's happening in Atlanta right now is a rapper named Baby Drill.
Yeah.
AKA, real name Del
Caristo Wilson.
Del Caristo Wilson. Right.
Man, that's weird. That whole case is strange. Before we get into that, I just want to say that I have been unable to get all the documents I want on this case because the Fulton County court system has a website that is screwed up and has been for years. And the only way to get stuff is to physically show up and stand in a tiny little room in the back of the courthouse pulling documents. Amazingly frustrating. And it's frustrated me with this case, which is why people don't fully understand what's going on with Baby Drill.
Well, according to reports, 2 people were killed on April 8th. Quantavious Harris and Grady Scott. Baby Drill is accused of killing Grady Scott.
Correct.
And he was denied bond in this particular case. Since then, there was an unreleased music video that was posted on YouTube 10 weeks after the Harris murder, which basically there's a whole lot of stuff in there that doesn't make Baby Drill look all that good.
Right.
Some of the lyrics are N-words thought this shit was sweet, shot his ass, asked Daffy.
Right. So it's crazy. So there's another rapper, small time rapper, Hard-Bodied Daffy, who was murdered. And I believe he was the other person who was he's not Scott, he's the other guy. Drill isn't accused, Baby Drill is not accused of killing Hard-Bodied Daffy. But it's interesting that there appears to be a connection in the case that I was not immediately aware of because I couldn't get at the documents until yesterday. There is a stay away order in his incarceration documents that requires him to be separated from 2 other people who are accused of murder and gang charges. And I believe one of them is accused of murdering Hard-Bodied Daffy. There's a bunch of stuff that's mixed up here. He's not accused of killing Hard-Bodied Daffy, but I think there may actually be a connection there.
See, another one of these alleged murders Baby Drill committed happened on April 8th of 2022. A man named Quantavious Harris, also known as Hard-Bodied Daffy, who was a member of the hard-bodied GF Mobb clique, a renegade GF clique that beefs with damn near everyone, being notorious for having a white boy toting Dracos in their crew. But amidst the constant self-snitching run of Drill claiming Marlo's murder over multiple tracks at this point, Cheedy, however, believes Drill didn't actually kill Marlo.
In Baby Drill's music, he said, "Caught my first body when I was 18." On a song called Dunsane.
Right. That was with Young Duty, I believe. And Young Nudie had a different line where he was saying, "Almost caught my first body when I was 17," or something like that. People wanted to link Baby Drill to a different murder, and that's the Lil Marlo murder.
Right, and Lil Marlo was a very close friend of Lil Baby.
Yeah. And I don't actually think that any of this has anything to do with that. If it does, I'd be surprised. It would be a hell of a coincidence, if nothing else.
However, what a lot of people don't know is that Baby Drill wasn't the only 4L rapper publicly beefing with PFK through their music, mentioning the Marlo murder at that. Because at the beginning of that year, on January 31st of 2022, PDE rapper and one of Drill's best friends, 1504 Mute Baby, would drop his song 100 bars with an Opium or Playboy Cardi type of beat, with the lyrics being anything but. Mute Baby claims that his young niggas are wilding with choppas and laid someone down, probably referring to the Marlo hit, as the next few lines followed up are direct disses towards the PFK crew, like Mute Baby mentioning Fat J is trying to spin the temp before calling out DB for being a rap nigga. And nearly 2 months after this, Dunt was killed, raising the suspicions of if Dunt was killed from this song, Baby Drill's breakout challenging his ops, ongoing violence between these crews in the streets, or events unrelated. But that didn't matter, because just 4 months after Dunt's death, DB Omerta would release a snippet to his followers amidst the traction he was gaining from this beef, where he would later officially release called Dead Ops, where he snapped relentlessly at the 4L crew, dissing Dunsane, Madroxk, and then taming the song down, claiming he's trying to catch Christo, Fat J, 4L Quan, and even disses 21 Savage for claiming to be Hood while being from Decatur, apparently referencing how nice areas like Decatur's are compared to the rundown trenches on the west side, even though the same shit goes on everywhere in the city. Nonetheless, around the same time these crews were blowing up in the city, bringing the drill scene to Atlanta, many other drill artists repping different gangs began making noise in the city too, upon the Atlanta drill wave like Anti-De Menace, Lil Tony, Lil Perk, and many more. And the even younger generation of teens coming up behind the 3L and 4L crew, loyal upon the city's new split gang politics revolving Marlo's death, would come out to ride the drill wave, since figures like Baby Drills got arrested shortly for the murder charge and YSL's RICO happening within the same year. Fonnie Willis threatening to crack down on the gang violence happening in the city caused the beef to go off the radar to the public, which can be more evidently seen as DB would allegedly private his Dead Ops diss track video towards 4L amongst the discussions of the beef, even when he bleeped out the names of everyone he dissed in the song. The politics behind Capo Nuke's death, their beef with 4L, and Marlo's death undeniably made 3L one of the most hated cliques, as I mentioned before, and during this, it was only sensible for them to click up with another of the most hated cliques in the city known as Henchman Gang 5L, a gang of sex money murder bloods that formed on the front street in Edgewood. 5L gained a notorious reputation for starting beef with Big Bank and the reputable Homicide Gang, or DTE, affiliated with rappers like Trouble and Playboy Cardi. And from Homicide Gang's reputation and respect around the Atlanta, 5L would be guilty by association and inherit the same ops as 3L, which would turn to a full-fledged war in the chain gang between 3L, 5L, and 4L, and their affiliated behind the walls. Inspired by their big bros making waves in both the streets and the music scene, the teens of PFK would go on to form a new clique under the 3L banner called YC, or simply Young Crew, and some young 4L members from G Block would go on to form a clique called Young Brew 4L. Now there's an entire history and story revolving the young niggas and their beef fledging from the new gang politics under Marlo's murder. Enough that can be made for its own video alone, so I won't dive into that in this one. But a lot of examples of these teen, borderline children beef spewing from the YC side under 3L, and the young 4L members would hit social media, some events even changing the course of these new politics itself, like a 4L member catching a young nigga claiming YC in what looks like a rich-ass neighborhood, with a HOA aiming his FI at the young nigga and screaming "fuck baby hot" while daring him to say he's not 4L.
Play with that. Stop with that blick, nigga. Stop playing. Wait. Wait. Fuck that hot, nigga. Wait. Fuck YC. Fuck that hot. Wait. Fuck that hot. Wait. Fuck that hot. Oh. You know what, Blaze? Let's do it. Come outside. Come outside. You smoking hot? You smoking hot? You smoking hot? You smoking hot? Huh? You smoking hot? You smoking hot? You smoking hot? You up? You up? You smoking hot? You smoking hot?
Baby Hot was a 12-year-old YC member who was accidentally shot and killed by his own crew, a tragedy I covered in other videos, essentially making him the new Tuka of ATL based on the city's hatred for 3L. Another one of these incidents would be a 4L member catching Lil Loaded, a reputable YC rapper who pioneered their crew's come up. Loaded would not stand up for himself, causing his gang to diss and disown him, which led him to continuously switch gangs, something he's commonly mocked in the city for, like when Young Thug's daughter dissed him on a Triller.
Dead dogs all day to the face. Or smoking on high, got shot in the face. And Loaded, you keep switching gangs, you a lame. And Billy, your son, DL, he changed. And Billy, a rat, he keep leaving state. And gonna get whacked, can't leave that lane.
UIC, ain't it? I'm saying we're going UIC, ain't it? Fuck YC, nigga. What's on? We out here. What's on? What's on? Fuck YC, nigga. What you trying to do? Come out here. Ah, that boy scared. Big 4L shit, man. Get in there, man. Fuck around there, man. On peace.
Now this just shows you the effect that not only Marlo's death had on the city, but how the drill scene that emerged from it would have the young niggas acting wild out here. Eventually, Baby Drill would beat his murder case, but that didn't stop him from continually claiming the Marlo hit. Now things had seemingly chilled out between the 3L and 4L crew, but come 2023, 21 Savage would be on a clubhouse with Chekian, where Check riled Savage up to the point where Savage says that his 4L crew are actually the ones whacking shit in the city.
Cause you talking about y'all should have protected y'all niggas. You need to tell your niggas. You need to tell your niggas to stop. Don't stop unless they see 12 too. Cause them niggas are getting their ass smacked left and right. Smacked up, smacked up. You been waiting on this moment your whole life, so you can argue with a nigga on Clubhouse. You keep letting all these Chicago niggas boost your head up like y'all niggas ain't dying in real life, man. Stop playing.
And later in the year, things wouldn't get any better, as 1504 Mute Baby and other 4L members like Baby Drill would go live, spinning the temp in black trucks, aiming guns at random civilians.
Man, I had 43. We ain't even gotta get out and shoot. Y'all nigga we ain't even gotta get out and shoot it. We was just gonna post up and kick it with y'all nigga. We was just gonna post up, kick it with y'all nigga. Oh, that wrong.
And as of today in 2025, thankfully there hasn't been much reports of anything devastating happening between the crews. Most likely since the gang politics have gotten so bad in the city, niggas started beefing with 10 different cliques at the same time. Whatever the case was, the 4L and 3L story would be probably the biggest story to emerge from the city and completely course change the city from a city of players to a city of crash outs. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this documentary. I'm of course planning to do more content like this revolving around Atlanta street stories, so if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe, like the video, and hit the bell so you can be updated for when new content drops. And if you have ideas for the next video or topics you want me to cover, make sure to let me know in the comments. Thank you all, and take care.